How confident are either of you on the integrity of our election system?
You're not voting for people, you're voting for a party, and they're trying to get two things from its consumers, money and votes. Whoever had the most money was winning in that state.
You know, we're not being represented accurately. It's supposed to be the other way around. Like, you should be answering to us.
Like, what I saw happen in 2020 was heartbreaking. And even as a cop, there's repercussions. If we don't have free and fair elections, I mean, what do we have?
Because war has always stabilized and made our economy better.
That by itself shakes enough people's confidence enough to make you at least question it, you know, and when people start to question it, that's a really difficult thing to get back.
I think they've got a fix for it, but I mean, we won't know until it's over. It's not going to be until the loser starts acting like a loser that...
Yeah. Well, and how big of a loser they are, and how bad they lose. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, it's both an honor and a pleasure to welcome my next guests back to the podcast. Both of these guys have been on the show before. Clint's been on a couple of times. Clark was one of my earliest guests. Clint was the very first guest. Both of them are former SEAL teammates of mine, and both are without question the top two most requested guests to come back on. Clark hasn't been on in fucking 5 years. I mean, you were on one of the first episodes, and people still watch it and comment on it, how much they laugh. And every time Clint's been on, every time there's fucking all kinds of comments about how, you know, dude, you got to have him back on regularly and whatever. So obviously you can see the format is a little different. It's a little more personal. It's three guys shooting the shit and having a good time, telling stories and talking about the state of the union, politics, etc. But it's more of a casual conversation, and it's a special kind of election edition of Mic Drop, where I wanted to have, you know, three combat veterans, guys that have been around a little while, to kind of give our opinions on being all over the country, all over the world, seeing the state of affairs that both our nation is in, as well as kind of the geopolitical climate, as well as just, you know, tomfoolery and horse assery. We've already spent about an hour shooting the shit, laughing our asses off before we got on here, telling stories. We'll try to rehash some of that, but I just want to say thank you to both of you for coming, and I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, of course, anytime.
All right, so kind of in the tradition of having it be a little bit just casual, I guess, are there any stories or you know, funny occurrences that come to mind for you guys from the SEAL teams that even if we've already shared them, that you want to kind of break the ice with and start off on a funny note?
I'll let Clark go first.
He's got all kinds of shit up his sleeve.
Oh, man. I mean, the first one that pops into mind is I met the Sultan of Brunei while I was wearing a gorilla mask. Not the most professional. And my platoon chief was a former Marine, so it did not go over well, dude.
How the fuck did that happen?
So we were 31st MEU, and we were bouncing around the Bellawood deployment, and we ended up on a small frigate called the USS Sides. And we got chopped out to train.
Sides?
Yeah, Sides, USS Sides. Small, fast
Weird
frigate.
Fucking name, all right.
Yeah, it was miserable. So we were going into Brunei, and we were supposed to man the rails in our dress uniforms. And the Sultan had a little, like a canopy or a tent set up. And so we had to like man the rails. And we thought, no way, we're not ship's company, dude. They're not going to make us. But the captain's like, no, you are the best in shape dudes. Like, you know what I mean? We don't want to put the fleet dudes right out there. So we were kind of pissed that we had to get in our dress uniforms and all that stuff. And so in Thailand, I had bought a gorilla mask that I found on like a side cart, because you never know when you need a random gorilla mask, right? So I had it stuffed in my pants and my shirt pulled over, and I probably waited till maybe 100 feet away or whatever, and I whipped that dude out, man. I got back to parade rest, and the Sultan of Brunei, you could just see the just locks right on me as the Sides glides by the, you know, the pier side. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I hear my chief go, Impastato, are you fucking serious right now? But what do you do, right? We're manning the rails, parade rest. I had eye contact with the Sultan, dude. So somewhere there's a very rich and powerful person that's like, why was there like a monkey on this Navy warship?
Classic.
So just it's that type of tomfoolery, you know.
Yeah,
Did you ever get any shit for it, like afterwards? Did he
we got busy training with those guys, and I think we just kind of forgot about it as we started turning two and training. So it was kind of, I slipped through the cracks on that one, man.
That's fucking great. All right, Clint, you're up.
Well, I mean, I can repeat a story we were talking about that's just funny and it's short and sweet, but and it's also a tribute to somebody who's fallen, right? So Jerry McCauley, who's SEAL Team 3 training cell, I was working with him for a bit of time, and he was one of the best storytellers, funny as fuck kind of guy, and he was telling me this story once where they were doing lockout drills, and for those that don't know, you got a submarine, and there's several, vehicles or just SEALs by themselves can lock out of a submarine and go do what needs to be done. And so they were practicing this out in the Pacific off the coast of Hawaii, well away from Hawaii where you couldn't see land. And they got to periscope depth, which is 60 feet. And then they were the top of that periscope was probably 10 feet from the surface of the water, right? And so as they're locking out, Jerry notices a fishing boat sitting right up there. And so he kind of looks around. He's like, fuck it, let's go mess with this guy. So he's got no rig, nothing on. He kind of dumps his stuff on the top of that sub and then just goes straight up, periscope, breaks the surface. There's a fisherman that happened to just be staring at him as he breaks surface, and he's like, hey! And the fisherman's just staring at him. He's like, which way to land? The fisherman slowly points east or whichever direction while looking at this guy. He's like, okay, thanks. And takes a deep breath and disappears into the ocean. Hence the reason why there's rumors of mermen and mermaids around the world.
That's fucking great.
Guys like Jerry McCauley.
And there's zero chance anybody believe that fucking guy.
Yeah.
They're like, dude, you're on, like, he probably thinks he's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That's fucking great.
It's good stuff right there.
But yeah, I mean, it reminds me of a story, and I don't remember who my swim buddy was. It was either Shane or Franny. I don't remember, but we were doing a night dive in not Glorieta Bay, in Fiesta Island in San Diego. And so those types of dives for the listener are a little more casual. Like, you're not at 32nd Street, trying to creep up on actual naval vessels. These are all just little sailboats, and it's a civilian area or whatever. And so we're, kind of on approach, and usually you're cruising around 18 feet or so. And you start to stair step up, and as we got closer and we were actually in the slips and kind of between the boats, counting to find where our target vessel was at, we see this guy, or we just see this pair of legs fucking treading water. And so, of course, we look at each other and, like, couldn't say anything, but knew, like, let's fuck with this guy. And so we slowly come up underneath him, and each of us grab one of his ankles and just yank him as hard as we can, right under the water. And he just, flips his fucking gourd and elevated out of the water and jumped up onto the fucking pier and ran off screaming. And same thing, like, I'm sure, everybody's like, yeah, sure, something fucking grabbed you, buddy. Yeah. I just think he's fucking crazy.
Shark!
Yeah. Hey guys, I wanted to take a minute to tell you about the Mic Drop Patreon, where you can get the real mic drop experience the way it's meant to be seen. You get completely uncensored, unfiltered, and uncut episodes with nothing held back, just raw, real conversations directly from me to you, without YouTube censorship. Plus, you'll see it days before anyone else, with early premieres and exclusive bonus content that you won't find anywhere else. You get behind-the-scenes access to the show, including pre- and post-show footage, with me and the guest both in studio and on location, depending on what the guest is into and what we have going on. On top of that, we've got tons of Patreon-only perks, mic drop swag, access to exclusive merch, and the chance to submit your questions to be asked at the end of every episode. You'll also get a sneak peek at our upcoming guests, so you'll know who's in the studio weeks before anyone else. We're constantly releasing new features and dropping new content based on what you want to see. For our top-tier members, you get the same Mic Drop Challenge coin that all of my guests receive from the upcoming show, which will never, ever be for sale. We've got quarterly merch that's sent out directly to you, a monthly Zoom call with me where we talk about whatever you guys want to talk about, and an active group chat where we all shoot the shit on a daily basis. All of that for just a few bucks a month to support the show. Right now, we're also offering a 10% discount off an annual subscription, which means that you get more than a free month. I want to say thank you to everyone who has already signed up. Your support means that we get to keep bringing you the content that you love. So if you haven't yet, hit the link in the description or go to patreon.com/micdrop and join the team. I'll see you guys in there. Thank you.
Since the Civil War, dogs have stood alongside our military, proving to be indispensable partners. Our military prioritized ensuring proper canine nutrition for optimal performance, recognizing its vital role in mission success. Team Dog embodies that standard, offering science-based, customizable meal plans tailored to your dog's unique needs. Developed by a former Navy SEAL and canine trainer, Team Dog Food ensures the highest quality nutrition for our canine companions. Improve your dog's well-being. Be your dog's hero with Team Dog.
I can't even imagine you think about the decades of SEALs that have been diving, in San Diego Harbor, over the years, like just all the fucking dumb shit that's taken place like that. It's got to be like you could write a whole fucking book on stories of people fucking with fucking with each other.
A lot of people in therapy probably.
Oh, I know it. Yeah.
Have you had anybody talk about us diving against dolphins on here?
I have a little bit. Well, maybe not even on here. I remember fucking Tommy got his ribs broken by one or
Jake. Yeah.
What happened to Jake?
Well, no, Jake is the name of the dolphin that they retired because he was basically breaking seal ribs.
I know shit.
And so we went up. Just one last one.
Yes. We'll set the stage for the if nobody knows what the dolphin.
Yeah. So the Navy has a mammal program, and they got dolphins and sea lions mostly. That they basically train to do ordnance or reconnaissance, and you can hook all kinds of devices up to these things. Anti-swimmer. I think there's actual aspects of that nobody talks about, but for them to do training, they use us, SEALs. Yeah. And so it was, there's 14 of us at the time in that platoon, so that's 7 dive pairs, put us all in the San Diego Harbor, one dolphin. And in probably less than, I think it was 8 minutes, that dolphin was able to find all of us and quote unquote kill us, right? And so, as you know, sound is omnidirectional underwater, right? So all you hear is, but you don't know where the fuck it is. You don't know how close it is. And so, my dive buddy was my chief, and he's down. We're on our buddy line. He's down on the ground, laying on his belly, and he's covered himself up in silt and sand and whatever else, right? Right next to a pier, and I'm hugging a pylon, pretending to be a pier, right? And so everyone is out in the harbor pretending to be a ship or pretending to be part of something to hide from this damn thing. And I'll never forget. And this is during the day, and all of a sudden you hear that, and you're just bracing for impact, right?
Oh shit!
And I hear that, and then I hear this, ugh! And so I'm like, I look down, and my chief isn't down on the ground anymore. He's up, and when I look, it's this beautiful, majestic dolphin, vertical. And then you've got Chief, and they're both staring at each other, right?
Oh, shit.
And they're trading punches. I'm not even shitting you. So this dolphin's like, and then would hit him straight in the drager, straight in the chest, right?
And then break it.
And then in slow motion, he's like, trying to punch this dolphin in the side of the head. And the way the dolphins know that they were successful or not is they have this styrofoam cone on their muzzle, right? And when they hit you, the styrofoam cone's supposed to pop off, go to the surface. Well, this thing wasn't coming off, right? So they just kept trading hits. What I started to realize is that he was actually trying to grab the styrofoam cone and pull it off his nose and send it to the surface. So they're sitting there, you just kept hearing the sounds like, and then, and then it went on, and eventually Chief got that styrofoam cone off his nose, sent it to the surface. They both kind of stared at each other for a second. Of course, my line is super taunt because I'm like, I don't want that thing near me. And because you've heard the rumors about 45 miles an hour and hitting dudes, and that's how it broke backs. And but eventually it swam off. But yeah, Jake ended up getting retired shortly after that because I think it was after us that he hit some people so hard it broke a back and broke some ribs.
Yeah. Yeah, those dolphins are nothing to fuck with, man. And it's
No.
like, and even sea lions, man. I don't remember, you remember Shane got bit in the top of the fucking head
Oh yeah,
by one?
Yeah.
And same thing. Like I was his dive partner then, and it was daytime.
Yeah.
So you can see everything. There's this playful little fucking sea lion bouncing around. It's like, it makes you feel like the fucking Matrix. You know, it's like you're moving in this like super slow mo, like you're in syrup.
You're not doing
and
anything.
this thing's just dancing around, just fucking having fun with you. But yeah, it was like it was just messing around. He like tried to swat it off or whatever, and went boom and fucking bit him right in the top of the head, filleted his fucking bald head wide open. It's fucking, you can see blood coming out and whatever. And so of course I'm like, dude, now we're chumming the fucking water.
Yeah.
Great.
And so of course, you know, Shane in Shane fashion grabs his fucking knife and is waving it around, like trying to stab this sea lion, and it's just laughing at him. You know, like, fuck, get out of here with that shit.
Yeah.
And god damn.
Humans are definitely in slow motion, while all of those mammals are in like fast forward.
Yeah, I mean, we're absolutely at the bottom of the fucking food chain.
Yeah,
in the water.
you're not winning.
Yeah, yep. All right, so I'm gonna start out with some of the Patreon questions. I want to thank all the Patreon members for A, being a member, and B, contributing to the discussion. They, I think, oftentimes want to know our opinions and kind of position on different things. So I'm just going to kind of go down the list, and then we'll get into some of the political type stuff. But what is the ratio of bad guys versus good guys in the system? Compromise versus non-compromise people, mainly in politics. Now, I know none of us have served in the House of Representatives or above, but I think it's probably a safe bet to say that there's parallels between whether it's, you know, the agency or the bureau or, you know, whatever. Like, what is your guys' take on, from what you've seen? We've all worked at kind of different compartments within the United States government at a lot of different levels. What would you guys, or how would you respond to that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say there's kind of two levels to that situation. There's the sled dogs, the worker bees, and I always kind of use the 90-10 rule. I think 90% of the worker bees are good, and then probably 10% not so good. But then you can almost flip that with the leadership level, right?
Yeah.
It's probably 90% shady and 10% are there for the right reasons. But a lot of people will just brand a whole department or agency under one thing, and they really need to understand it. It was similar in the military, right? There's a difference between the enlisted corps and the officer corps.
Fuck yeah, there is.
Different politics trickle in, and well, it's the same with departments, agencies, things like that. And so I would say at the lower level, the people that are actually putting in hard work, they're 90% good people trying to do the right thing, and I feel bad for a lot of them get tainted with current events and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I think it's a pretty spot-on assessment.
Yeah, I would say too, it's generational.
Yeah.
Like if you look at, like, I was at the tail end of being raised by, let's say, Vietnam era kind of guys.
Yeah.
Where, you know, integrity and some of our moral compasses got spun around plenty by these guys.
A lot of gray area.
Yeah. It was like, hey, that was, you know, back when you were allowed to say in buds, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. Yeah. Now they're not allowed to say that anymore, right?
What?
Yeah, so that's all gone away
shit.
because it supposedly influenced guys to, you know, whether it be cut corners or, hey, I'm just going to do whatever it takes.
Import some cocaine from Colombia.
Yeah. So it...
Not pay my taxes.
Yeah, I would just add generational stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we all flow with the seasons, and some seasons are stricter than others, you know?
Yeah. I guess I'm curious to get your guys' assessment of, you know, if you look at you know, we'll say the House of Representatives and above, do you guys feel that there is a mechanism to actually fix that fucking problem?
Dude, at that level, man, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, my only insight to that is our mutual friend, Eli.
Yeah.
And last time I talked to him, man, he seemed pretty beat up and disheartened. It almost reminded me of like a president's photo in the beginning. And, you know, now I see Eli, he looks ate up. And I'm like, this is a combat SEAL veteran, business owner, entrepreneur, very successful. And that's what beat him up. It kind of makes me wonder, like, what's going on up there to see him kind of the way he is. And so I think up there, it's really a very few group of people like himself that are there for the right reasons, that are there to serve, not make it a career.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them lose sight of that, man.
Yeah.
Well, I think, too, it's bigger, and I think Mike and I, we've definitely had these conversations. Like, you're not voting for people, you're voting for a party. And you have to look at both parties as two competing companies, right? And they're trying to get two things from its consumers: money and votes, right? And these two companies are marketing their new product. Yeah. And it's that product for the new product for the next 4 years, right? And I think it just lends more to what has happened to democracy overall, is that capitalism has taken over. And I think I was watching, I can't remember, probably Fox, and they had everyone right now that is up, right, in the election in each state. And then they put the dollar signs under each name, right, the Republican and the Democrat. And if you compared it and contrast that, overlaid with the polls, whoever had the most money had obviously the better votes or was winning in that state, right? Except for Montana, where, what's his name, Sheehy?
Yeah,
Sheehy. I think it's Sheehy. Yeah. Sheehy had like zero money, but he was the only one where zero money, but was winning. Yeah. And I think that in itself says everything.
No, yeah, I mean, to me, money is unquestionably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, hurdle and problem, I think, with politics. I mean, take lobbying as an example. Everywhere else in the world, it's just considered bribery, or it's called bribery, and here it's legal and called lobbying, and I mean, to me, like, that as a step one, I think is an easy, low-hanging fruit thing to get rid of. But the problem is, whether you're talking about imposing term limits, getting rid of lobbying, making it to where, people that have insider information because of, if you're on the defense fucking committee and that McDonnell Douglas is about to get a $40 billion contract before the public knows, and you tell your uncle, hey, here's fucking 40 grand. But, it's like, that's why all of them are worth 10x what they were when they started. Like, those are all things that seem pretty easy to get your arms around, that would be pretty easy to outlaw. Now, the trading thing is difficult because of that scenario. It's like, well, you can tell your brother who can tell his wife doesn't have the same last name, so I don't even know how the fuck you get around that. But the other two things, seem pretty fucking feasible to do. But the problem is the only people that can make that happen are the people that are going to get fucked by it. Yeah. So they're never going to do that. It's asking the fox to audit himself in the hen house. Like, it's not happening. So I don't know how you fix that problem. And I had Eli on. He's actually been on twice. The first time was before he ran for Congress. The second time was during his campaign. And he did agree to come back on. I said, give it a year or two, because I would love to hear, kind of the no shit team guy to team guy behind the curtain, like, what the fuck really goes on? Why is it so broken? Why is it so difficult to get any traction? So hopefully I can get him back on here and we can talk about it. But
I always thought, if you just took the IRS and said, hey, you're not going to look at the American public any longer. You're going to turn your focus inside the Beltway for the next 4 to 8 years. Yeah. All you're going to do is look at every single defense contract, and you're going to look at every elected official, all the money. Yeah. That's what you're going to do. You're going to audit that entire system. And if they just did that, just for 4 to 5, whatever, 4 years, 8 years, however long it takes, and stop looking at us, Yeah. And I think, one, the IRS would probably make more money. Yeah. The country would probably save more money. Yeah. Right, but just inside the Beltway alone.
Yeah, but it's so similar problem though is that they're funded by the people now that they're turning their eye on.
Exactly.
And they're not going to
never work.
They're not going to bite the hand that feeds. So yeah. I mean, I don't know if you guys have any ideas, thought processes on how the fuck you fix something as simple as lobbying and campaign finance.
Man, that's a tough one. I mean,
I think you said it. It's. I mean, they're the ones in charge, and you know what I mean. I don't know, unless, I just wish there was a way. I always thought, like, in a perfect world, if we just didn't pay taxes for a year and ground that machine to a halt and sat them down and said, all right, guys, this is what we're going to do.
You're paying attention now?
Yeah, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? You got to hit them in the wallet. And I just don't know how to do that, because they're supposed to listen to us, represent us, vote the way we want them to vote, not the way they want to vote. And if those are our concerns that we pass up to our representatives, it should be a legitimate discussion on the floor. Hey, our constituents want term limits. They want guardrails on campaign funding and they don't want lobbying. They should just listen to us is how the process is set up, but of course they don't.
Yeah. No. And it's, once again, democracy has been superseded by capitalism, right? To where now your vote and that dollar are so intertwined, it's difficult to disconnect it all and separate it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I think, one of the big problems with that too is that you have, an entire government that, is funded by, tax revenue, and the tax revenue is being spent without the representation of the people that put them in that place, and I think
big time,
to see that kind of disregard for what our wishes are. I mean, take whether it's Ukraine, Israel, the billions of dollars that get sent to countries all over the Middle East that fucking hate us, the millions of dollars that get sent to the fucking Taliban. I mean, you name it. Like, to me, another easy step one or low-hanging fruit would be any tax revenue that's being given to anybody outside the United States should be set as its own separate piece of legislation that has to go through the same way a bill does. Like, you shouldn't just be able to say as a president, hey, we're just going to give you $40 billion fucking dollars. Like, we didn't sign up for that. Like, fuck you, I mean, I think that is total horseshit, and again, that's something that I think is feasible, but now they don't have the ability to kick, pet projects to, fucking people that, that influence them. I mean, there's that fucking senator in New Jersey that was, on a lower level, but, was being bribed by the Egyptian government for, business licensing and shit like that. And it's like, that's the one dude that was careless enough and dumb enough and did it long enough to actually get caught.
Yeah.
So how many of these motherfuckers aren't getting caught,
Or just, smarter about it.
Smarter about it.
I wish at our level they would, it's tax season, right? We all know every year, as you approach April 15th or whatever, that I got like a Scantron. Even if they didn't run these Scantrons through a machine.
You'd feel better about it.
But yeah, if I had a Scantron, it was broken into columns of where I want my tax money to go.
Yeah.
They'd have domestic, you'd have international, and then that would be broken down into military or roads or bridges or schools or this or that. And I could bubble in where I want my money to go. And you fold that up with your check and send it in, just to have the satisfaction, at least I get to choose at my level, right, as an American citizen, where my tax money is going to go, so that I also feel like, okay, at least I know that mine isn't going overseas. Just something, just psychological. Like, they don't even have, they could burn those things, but
at least make you
it would make me feel better if I was just, hey, I want all my stuff to go domestic.
It's true,
Well, I think part of it too, the root of the problem is, or the symptom is that, we're not being represented accurately. But I think the root of that problem is a big part of it stems from, especially in the last 20 years, is that almost this like rock star kind of feeling and affiliation that almost every politician like feels entitled to. It's like,
for sure.
It's like they're now not working for us. They're this fucking idolized figurehead with a huge social media following and TikTok accounts, and they post shit and have podcasts and, write books that the fucking either side, RNC, DNC, buys 400,000 copies of and makes an instant #1 bestseller. I mean, like, it's this whole like machine of pop culture almost wrapped into politics. And it's like, that's not how it's supposed to be the other way around. Like, you should be answering to us, motherfucker, not us trying to get you to listen.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you. And that's where it goes back. It's two corporations, right? The Republican corporation, the Democratic corporation.
It's true,
yeah. As you guys know, sleep is a huge component to recovery and really all aspects in life, and it's something that a lot of us have struggled with, for a lot of our lives, frankly. As you know, I've been a big proponent of Beam, which is a hot cocoa that you drink before you go to sleep, and it's helped tremendously in terms of hours of sleep maintained as well as the quality of sleep. Today, my listeners get a special discount on Beam's Dream Powder, which is their science-backed hot cocoa for sleep, and it's got no added sugar. Better sleep has never tasted better. As you know, other sleep aids can cause next-day grogginess and just make you feel crappy, but Dream contains a powerful all-natural blend of reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, and apigenin, also melatonin, to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up feeling refreshed. If you want to try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder, get up to 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/micdrop, all caps, all one word, and use code MicDrop, all one word, all caps, at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/micdrop and use code MicDrop for up to 40% off. Who doesn't like being comfortable in their own clothes? One of the things that I think I suffer from, and a lot of people do, is wanting to be comfortable, but not looking like you're comfortable. That's why I'm a big fan of Mack Weldon and their clothing. It's kind of a secret weapon in terms of the timeless classic style that has, it's infused with performance fabric as well as hidden details. They're clothes that fit just right. They look like they're business casual, but they're comfortable like sweatpants and lounge around clothes, which I really enjoy. It's just kind of the best of both worlds. I've gotten some pants and some shirts from them, and they're super comfortable, and I love wearing them, especially in the Texas summer heat. They're breathable, but they fit well and wick away the moisture. It's really great stuff. Usually the performance fabric stuff that I've seen in other brands are it's either really shiny material or it just kind of looks off. It looks like it's somewhere in between pants and sweats, and it just kind of has a weird vibe to it. With the Mack Weldon stuff, you don't get that at all. It just, again, has a very business casual kind of feel to it. I enjoy their stuff a lot, and I think you guys will too. You can get timeless looks with modern comfort from Mack Weldon. Go to MackWeldon.com and get 25% off your first order of $125 or more with the promo code MicDrop. That's all caps, all one word, MicDrop. That's at Mack Weldon, MackWeldon.com, and the promo code is MicDrop, all caps, all one word. Get you some Mack Weldon, and you will not regret it. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Black Buffalo products are intended for adults age 21 and older who are consumers of nicotine or tobacco. It's your good buddy Mike Ritland here with the Mic Drop Podcast. If you are an adult age 21 and older and use nicotine or tobacco, I want to tell you about an American-made success story and Black Buffalo's award-winning nicotine pouches. Black Buffalo's nicotine pouches are not owned by Big Tobacco. They're an independent company proudly built right here in the USA for 21 and over adult consumers. Black Buffalo was built by dippers with decades of smokeless tobacco use. They believed the market wanted a tobacco alternative nicotine product that offered the best of both worlds, bold flavor, full pouches. What are they made of? It's pretty simple. Cured edible green leaves, food-grade ingredients, and pharmaceutical-grade nicotine. Most importantly, there's no tobacco leaf or stem. Black Buffalo is all about the history and tradition of dip, but they understand the convenience and discretion modern-day consumers are looking for. Black Buffalo's nicotine pouches give you the versatility to consume discreetly, but still keep the ritual with flavors dippers love. Mint, straight, and wintergreen, all proudly made right here in the USA. So, if you're 21 and older, consume nicotine or tobacco, and want to join the Black Buffalo herd, head over to blackbuffalo.com to learn more. You can order nicotine pouches online, and they ship directly to most states. Or check out their store locator to purchase pouches at thousands of retail locations around the country. Black Buffalo Tobacco Alternative, bold flavor, full pouches. Guys, as you know, I work with a number of different products. One that's easily the most near and dear to my heart from a cause standpoint and a personal relation standpoint is Bubs Naturals. The hat on the coffee table sitting right in front of me belonged to Glenn Doherty. It was a John Deere hat that I gave him. He had it when he tragically passed in Benghazi. And I was fortunate enough to get it back from one of the co-owners of Bubs. He sent it back to me to be able to keep. Bubs Naturals is a tribute to Glenn. He was one of he's kind of that guy that was everybody's best friend. I met several people that considered him his best friend, and he was a guy that was impossible not to like, and just, caused happy waves that rippled through every community he was ever a part of. His nickname was Bub, and that's where Bubs Naturals comes from. But it's a lifestyle brand. It's inspired by Glenn. They give a ton to charity. They've donated over $200,000 to charitable causes since their inception in 2018. On Veterans Day, 100% of the proceeds go to the Glenn Doherty Memorial Foundation, which does phenomenal work helping active duty and children of lost active duty members go to college or scholarships that they've donated a ton, and they also are heavy into the recreation space of helping people do that, because that's what Bub was all about. They have collagen peptides, which I put into my morning routine every single morning, as well as the functional creamer / MCT oil that goes into it as well. They have hydrate or electrolyte drink mixes, which are great for pre-workout, during workout, and post-workout to get all the added sodium, potassium, magnesium, etc. that's required when you deplete it. And they now have Bub's Brew, which is a specialty organic coffee that is also very, very good. It's USDA organic, fair trade. It's Whole30 approved, which is the first time that's happened. It's free of yeast, mold, and aflatoxins. Small lot roasted, guaranteed fresh, and it tastes great. Biggest thing is Bub's is a family company. The way that they started is, again, super close to my heart, with him being one of my closest friends for a long time. And I just can't say enough good things about that company, of the product that they put out, why they started, what they give back to veteran communities and the Glenn Doherty Memorial Foundation. And I encourage you to go to bubs.com, and now there's a landing page specifically for Mic Drop listeners. Just enter the code Mike, M-I-K-E, all caps, and you get 20% off your first purchase at bubsnaturals.com. So that's www.bubsnaturals.com/Mike. And you can check out the Mic Drop landing page and go support an amazing cause. Next question. If someone's planning U.S. or international travel, what resources, i.e. State Department, travel advisories, et cetera, do you recommend to help? How do you get ready for that?
I don't know. Good question.
Put a 1 ounce gold coin in your wallet. Fucking shitty attitude.
That's right. Well, I'd say number one, do your research before you go. Number two, file with the State Department. They have a whole system over there. So before you travel, you can lay out your entire itinerary to those guys. OSAC, O-S-A-C is, I don't remember what the acronym stands for anymore, but they specifically put out safety and advisories and warnings for different locations that you're traveling to. And I always tell people, like, hey, you have to take some ownership in this. Write the word threat, T-H-R-E-A-T, vertically on a piece of paper, and then using AI, say, hey, what technical threats may I see in China? And then, of course, AI will give you an answer, or you can Google it, whatever. And then H is for health, right? So what health issues or health related risks may I run into? R is raids, robbery, and ransom, which are your most violent crimes. E is environmental stuff. A is agencies working against you. And then T, the final T, is terrorism, right? So you just do a quick little,
threat assessment
for yourself, and that'll give you plenty to worry about.
Yeah, I think the bigger question is, how the fuck do you have that rattled off in your head?
That's why I looked right at him like, dude, this one's all you,
got a
man.
fucking cue card?
Yeah.
That's what I do for a living.
That's what I do for a living. Yes.
Clark, do you have anything to add to that, buddy?
I don't know how to follow that up. Like, choose your destination carefully. I don't know.
Don't go to Thailand, or go to Thailand.
Go to Thailand. I can give you some tips there.
You got some fucking tips. I bet you can give a tip in Thailand. Guns versus unarmed combat. So many people talk about how they would just, quote, shoot the other person. One, I don't think every situation, this isn't me writing it again, these are Patreon questions, but number one, I don't think that's every situation calls for that. Number two, most Americans, in my opinion, would do more harm than good with a gun. Number three, at what point would you guys draw guns versus engaging in unarmed combat if you're armed?
I'll say this. I've been in some situations in Iraq overseas versus my situation, which we talked about last time with Phoenix Police Department. And even as a cop, there's repercussions, maybe even especially as a cop. You're under the microscope of the media immediately. Immediately, I was investigated as a suspect in a homicide. Me and the department were sued for $30 million but I did have the protection of department attorneys and stuff. So what I would say to people that like, oh, I would just shoot somebody, think about it, because there's repercussions outside of a life-changing event and all that that's going to ripple through the rest of your life and other families. The way the legal system comes down on you, and especially depending on what state you live in, that's a huge factor as well. I hope to God I would never have to shoot anyone in like California. Or, you know what I mean? So people that are so quick to this gun scenario, they don't realize, it took me 6 years to settle that lawsuit.
No shit.
And that was on duty, performing in the line of duty, 5 officer witnesses. So now just imagine if it's some random civilian scenario that these tough guys talk about, you're going to get the legal system raining down on you hard, man. So I'm sure you'll agree with this. The best thing is to remove yourself from those scenarios.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Be smart about what you do from your day-to-day work. Be careful about what you do with the nightlife and where situations you put your family in. The best way is just to not create those situations, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
I think it starts with don't hang out in stupid places at stupid times of night with stupid people. And if you do those 3 things, that's 99.9% of the problem solved. Yeah. But if you find yourself at that point, 0.1% and, and it's true violence staring you in the face, then you want to definitely de-escalate the best you can using the acronym CALM. One is to stay calm.
Yes, good.
And C is for calm. A is to be attentive and make sure you're paying attention. And L is to listen, because a lot of times people that are angry and upset, they just want to be heard. They don't have anybody listening to them, and they just get frustrated and blow up. And M is don't mirror them, right? If they're getting big, that doesn't mean you need to get big, right? If they're getting loud, you need to actually bring your voice down and then change the cadence, because it forces people to actually get hooked on every word. And before you know it, that yelling guy is now looking at you like, why are you whispering? But it's changing how the whole dynamic of what's going on in a matter of seconds. And now you kind of own the situation, and plus it gives you time. And as we know, time is our ally. You definitely don't want it as an adversary. Time equals opportunity, time equals decisions, time equals survivability.
Yeah. Now, incredibly well said. I agree with both the things. One thing I would add on top of all that, and not just reiterate it, is for me, kind of my litmus is if I feel legitimately like my life is in danger and I don't have another option, then for sure I'm gonna draw a weapon and fucking shoot. But I'm going to do everything I can to avoid that,
For sure.
I would also say with that is be proficient with your options. If you're going to carry, be well versed with that platform, or if you're hand-to-hand, whatever it is, don't just kind of half-ass it, because that'll backfire on you. So,
I think on that topic, we should at least cover that reactionary gap is what decides a lot of this for you, right? And the reactionary gap is really the distance in which someone can strike you, and you have to think about a good solid teep to the chest, because that's probably the longest strike someone could throw at you, right? So that big front kick, right? I'm going to row the boat, and I'm going to put my foot in your chest and knock you back.
Pat Mack style.
That's right.
And he's got a mean front kick, dude.
So I think knowing what that reactionary gap is, and then actually thinking through and training to that gap on how you would handle it, because we know open hand to a blade to a gun is all much different inside the gap. And so you got to know what the hell you're going to do.
Yeah. Well, and to that point, training, it always astounds me, especially in the law enforcement, and I tend to pick on them a little bit about how few of them train in grappling techniques and prisoner handling, if you want to call it that. But it's like, the same guy, like, how often you shoot? Oh, I go every weekend. Like, how many times have you pulled your weapon? Never.
Yeah.
Do you train jiu-jitsu or combatives, ground fighting at all? No, I just don't really have the time. It's like, how many times have you been hands-on with somebody? Oh, it happens all the time. It's
every
like,
day.
Does that make any fucking sense? It's like, yes, you should be good with a gun, but fuck, if 99% of the interactions that go south are with somebody where you got to know how to fucking take them to the ground and control them, you should probably practice that a lot,
Yeah, for sure.
Because you see it all the time, like a lot of, whether it's cops or even just street fights, where it's just like, holy shit, these people have no fucking idea what they're doing. And a lot of it's pretty simple shit. How confident are either of you on the integrity of our election system?
It's
You sit on your nuts, or what happened?
I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. I gotta be honest. I'm worried, dude. It's sad, because all of us here have done a lot for our country to the best of our ability overseas. We buried a lot of brothers along the way. Parents, grandparents, we want to pass on to the next generation and the next generation the best thing we have. And so, like, what I saw happen in 2020 was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And the way it was kind of brushed under the carpet, and the Supreme Court didn't even look at it. And I just thought, if we don't have free and fair elections, what do we have?
Yeah, it's nothing.
Everything we fought for generations before us.
It's gone.
That is it. And so what happened in 2020, I'm holding my breath for this cycle to see if those same types of red flags pop up. But dude, I honestly, I don't know, man.
So not high. You don't have a lot of confidence.
No, not at all, man.
Well, I think even those are two separate things. There's free and fair elections, and then there's just the speculatory confidence in the fact that that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I agree. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say I know for sure that it was stolen, or that it was, that there was massive fucking fraud at any level, because you do need tangible proof, which leads to, I think two points and problems. Number one is that using fucking electronic machines is a fucking mistake. It just is. In today's day and age, with the ability for hackers to do what they do, and software engineers, there's been countless fucking hearings of people who develop that software that have even said openly in court, like, yeah, that shit is absolutely hackable, and I could show you how to do it in fucking 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So to me, that by itself shakes enough people's confidence enough to make you at least question it, and when people start to question it, like, that's a really difficult thing to get back.
Well, and it was so different from any other election I've ever experienced. Like, it was just weird at so many levels, and it took so long to verify the counts. Like, it had never been. It's just red flags popping up everywhere. So it's.
Yeah, whether it's not needing an ID or mail-in voting. What frustrates me too, I think, is the Supreme Court and our judicial system just kind of looking at it and be like, yeah, there's some, but not enough to swing it one way or another. It's like, show us what you found then.
Where's the investigation?
Like pick anything else. Like, there's more details about what went on at fucking P. Diddy's house than there is our 2020 election. Like, that's a fucking problem. Like, you guys work for us. Like, you should share that, especially with something that there's this much hinging off of our country's existence. It's crucial. I just don't get it. And so to me, it's like, if you're not sharing it, that's a problem. There's a reason you're not doing it. And so, how do you gain that back? I don't know. Because I agree in that the Wisconsin thing, at 3 a.m, all of a sudden this big batch of just 1,000% fucking Democratic votes comes in and just barely puts them over the edge. Like, that seems fucking shady. Like, you don't have to be a software engineer or a politician to look at that and be like, something doesn't fucking seem right with that. Like, that should be explained. If you want your citizens to trust and believe that this is a free and fair system, and it's accurate, and it's not influenced by fraud to a degree with which it would change the outcome, then you should fucking provide that stuff,
And it should concern both sides too. It shouldn't be a political thing.
Yeah, I don't know how it is. Like,
I don't know why it's kind of a partisan thing. If that spike or those suspicions happen, anybody, even if you're on the positive outcome side of that, it would be like, I don't know, I don't feel good about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a win. It's
yeah.
It's like beating up a fucking child, Clint. You know what I'm talking about.
The 10-year-old in the trunk of my car.
Do you feel good about that? I feel like
deserved it. He deserved it.
He's a big 10-year-old.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. No, I think to add to it is the early voting piece. I kind of have this love-hate relationship with it, because I feel like there's a certain population that will go vote early, right? And then you get to see that, right? We see the numbers right now.
Yeah.
What is it, like 60-40 or something right now?
Yeah.
60 Trump, 40, Harris, and if you're on the losing end of that, then you know exactly how much you need to make up.
Yeah.
And so that's when I think the ideas of fraud could jump in people's minds.
Yeah.
So if you narrowed all this down and just forced the vote on a specific time frame and not allowed a whole bunch of flexibility, you'd probably get a little bit cleaner election.
Yeah, I mean, to me, and there's going to be people that bitch about every single thing that any of us say on
Yeah,
this.
of course.
But,
I don't care.
Yeah,
but
we're used to it.
yeah,
That's the beauty of not caring.
But to me, you know, like paper ballots, yes, it's going to take longer to know who won. But like to me, as dumb as that sounds and kind of coming full circle, archaic technology-wise, like that's a more secure setup at this point. And I agree in that, like, you know, while voting is a right, like it's something that you should take serious and fucking prioritize. And, you know, maybe not just one day, but make it 3 days or maybe 5, you know, but if it's all paper ballots, then you're not, at the end of every day, you're not getting to see what the fucking score is. And so if it's important to you, have a fucking ID, go in person on the couple of days that you're allowed to vote and fucking vote.
Yeah.
Like, to me, it's that simple, you know, and to say that like, well, that's discriminatory against people that can't do it or whatever, like how many people fall into that fucking category of are physically incapable or don't possess a fucking driver's license or some sort of state issued identification to be able to prove that they are who they say they are, because you have to do it for every fucking thing else, right? If you have to do it to fucking get a prescription, to cash a fucking check, like you telling me those people don't do those things? Like, come on.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you, man.
All right.
Plus, it was more fun when there was pregnant Chads, hanging Chads, dimpled Chads. Remember that? Was it Bush versus Gore? And we were cutting squares on a ship, like waiting to find out who the president was going to be.
It's like 31 days. Right?
Yeah, it was 31
You're on
days.
fucking deployment. Yeah.
Well, this is a pregnant Chad, and this is a dimpled Chad. There's a slight difference between the two, but
A follow on to that is, do you think it's been compromised enough to throw the election?
I hope not. I really do. I mean, I'm on the side of democracy, and hopefully things go well, and like to think, be optimistic. But I mean, everything that we thought was conspiracies just a couple of years ago, and they all proved not to be. That's the part that, and as we all know now, it doesn't matter whether it's social media, cable news, conventional news, mainstream. You just don't know what to trust anymore. And until you get that trust back, I think you do have to kind of question everything.
Yeah. Clark?
I agree. The thing that pops up in my head is Dinesh's 2,000 Mules thing that he put together.
Just sounds like an Afghan orgy.
That's what I thought at first. That's why I bought it. I'm like, all right, let's check this out. Yeah.
I can get behind
I was like,
that.
oh, man, this is some political stuff? Damn it. Too late. But but when you see that type of evidence and the way he organized it, I just thought, oh my gosh, like this can't be. But like you said, all this other stuff that's gone on that, 3-4 years ago, you'd be a cuckoo to think about. It does make you think, shit, that could be possible.
Yeah. Well, and even on that, it's like some of the things that were so force-fed by our government to say that, no, this is what's happening, like to a degree with which it's fucking full-blown gaslighting.
Yeah.
And even taking it a step further is that if you even question that or verbalize it on any fucking social media platform, like they'll shut you down. And it's like a lot of these things turned out to be fucking accurate, that you were shutting people down for. I mean, to me, it's scary. I mean, to that question, I would say, like, I'm not going to say that I think that it was thrown, that it was that corrupt, because to me, to assume that, like, you've got to be able to prove it, and but to me, the fact that we're even questioning it, the fact that we're having this discussion is that we have concerns about it, should be a huge fucking red flag to everyone. Yeah. Because that's never been that way before, kind of another follow on, which I think dovetails onto that point, is we often meddle in foreign elections. Do you think we, our own government, in some regards, are meddling in our own? Does our vote still really matter?
Well, those are hard-hitting questions.
Yeah.
They
My Patreon crew's not fucking around.
I didn't know this was the heavyweight division. I thought we were going to talk about like puppy dogs and candy canes, man.
Suction cup dildos on helmets. We'll get there. We're knocking out the serious stuff.
Getting the heavy stuff out of the way first. Yeah. I wonder that myself, because obviously we've all been involved with things overseas, and you see certain abilities and technologies that we use to do whatever it is we got to do overseas. And of course you would hope that in many capacities we took an oath to protect our people and all these things. And we go to great lengths overseas to protect their citizens and things as well. I'm still believe in this country. I still believe in the institutions overall. I'm not saying it's not happening. I think as entities, maybe not. Maybe there's bad actors within these entities that would kind of turn these technologies and things in on us. But as a whole, I still have to hold on to that belief that we don't do that to ourselves, man. And maybe I'm foolish, but
Yeah, I think it goes back to that Ronald Reagan quote, right? Trust but verify. Yeah. I think that mindset has to be, I think every leader, doesn't matter where you're at, you kind of need to have that mindset, trust but verify from the top down, just to make sure that nothing's going on your watch, And I don't know if anybody's willing to do that. Yeah.
Similarly, I would say, I don't think so, or I hope not, and to me, like if you're of the opinion of, I think it was stolen, it's like you got to have more than like, well, I think it is. There's too much fucking weird shit. There's too much weird shit to just blindly accept. But on the same token, it's like if you can't tangibly fucking prove that it was, then that's a dangerous fucking statement, frankly. Yeah. Have you heard of or read Al-Quaeda 2.0 by William Archer, and do you have any insight about their possible upcoming attack? If neither of you are familiar with that, I know there's supposed to be a planned 2025 large-scale, basically October 7th in Israel, but here and on fucking steroids sometime in 2025. And I don't, there's a lot of different kind of theories as to, what the details are, et cetera, but that there's, masses accumulating of Al-Qaeda and ISIS fighters that are planning some large-scale attack. You guys heard anything about that?
I haven't heard anything, but I would give those guys some advice. Come into the red states first. Paraglide in here. Texas is a good starting point. See how that goes.
Yeah. See how that works out.
Fucking full red dawn.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
I mean, you haven't.
No, but we should call my brother.
Yeah.
Like, he probably has the answer.
Can you talk about what he does or not really?
Yeah, I mean, no, I can't.
Not
my place.
Well, no. He can't come on.
He probably has answers. He can come on maybe when he's done.
When he's done,
yeah. That'd be a good conversation.
The follow-up question, which I'd love to get your take on, what can citizens do to prepare for such a dire scenario without living a paranoid life?
It's a big question.
You don't have an acronym for that?
I probably do. Hold on, let me think about it.
That's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah, I think, not being paranoid is easy, right? But that means you have to turn your awareness on. And, there's 4 aspects of awareness you probably should just pay attention to each day. And that's personal awareness, like look in the mirror before you walk out the door, make sure you're not wearing anything that suggests that you're a target or it's too memorable, right? Be the gray person when you get dressed. Situational awareness, which we all hear about, it's underutilized because of technology and cell phones in everybody's hand, but scanning your environments and making sure you're looking out for yourself and your family. Third-party awareness, that's knowing that anyone on the street, could be law enforcement, bad guys, just an average citizen, can look at you, scrutinize you, and judge you anytime they want. But as long as you're aware of that, then you'll be better off. And then, of course, cultural awareness goes a long way so that you're not the do's and don'ts of the areas you're in, so you don't offend anybody and make yourself a target. But the key to all 4 aspects of awareness is just reducing your signature, blending in, and going about your business smartly.
Amen. Train jiu-jitsu and be a good shot.
Yeah, that helps. That helps. The only
Don't
thing
be a total fucking bag of mashed assholes walking around.
Yeah. Well, and I would say have a conversation with your family, your loved ones, whatever path you're going down for sure, definitely bring them on board.
Yeah. Do you have a shit hits the fan like scenario plan for the family?
Well, my family, it's just me and my wife right now, so get out of California as quick as possible.
Grab your shit and get in the car.
We're stealing second base to Reno to get to free America quick.
There you go. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's my bug out plan. Get out of that state.
How do you fucking put up with living in California? Like, is that a struggle or is it not that
Well,
bad?
California is weird because it's normal outside of the 2 big blueberries. If you stay out of San Fran and LA, like where I work, all I see is American flags, blue line flags, Trump flags. So it is weird. It's not what I thought it was.
Yeah.
If you actually look at a county map of the electoral votes, it's a red state. It's
Other
just
than
those
those
blueberries are so powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where I live is fine. Normal people, to be honest with you. It's it's great.
Taxes are a kick in the dick, though.
Oh yeah. Oh, the cost of
Everything,
living and
Yeah.
yeah.
What's the price of a fucking gallon of gas there?
I'd say right now it's about $5. It's come down.
That's come down.
It was like $6-7 a gallon.
Dude, like
We're
regular.
at $2.50 here in Texas.
Yeah, I saw that when I landed. I was like,
Like, I'm going to take some back with me, motherfucker.
That's right.
What are you carrying on, sir? Oh, it's a 55-gallon drum of fucking diesel fuel.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Hey, don't worry about that. That's between you and me.
Yeah. Look over there.
Yeah. Reminds me of the before we got on camera, we were talking about there's I don't even know her name, but this Tourette's syndrome chick on
Oh yeah,
on
she's
social
awesome.
media.
Yeah.
Which
You're done. You're done.
well, and then there's the there's a barber that also has Tourette's that cuts customers' hair who also have Tourette's, and so it's like
Oh, that's perfect.
it's like they almost fucking feed off of each other.
Give that
And
dude
maybe they do.
scissors,
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if I'd want fucking Slappy back there.
Might get stabbed in the face, you know.
Yeah. But it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, and
shit
it never
cracks
gets
me up.
old.
I
It's
know.
like
No.
farting.
Yeah.
It's like farting. It's always funny. It's
Always good. Yeah.
And I am curious, like, it seems like the majority of it, get off on a tangent here real quick.
Yeah.
It seems like the majority of Tourette's, I don't know, outbursts are like swearing or sexual or offensive. It's like, why
That's
isn't
what
it
I
just
wonder.
like squirrel or
Right.
fucking couch? I mean, I don't know, broccoli.
I don't know.
Like, why?
Yeah, why do you have to say bad words?
It's always like just the most insulting shit possible. Like,
I know.
for anybody listening out there that has the answer to that, throw that shit in the comments.
I actually want to make a shirt that
gotta be a
says
science
"I
to
have
it."
Tourette's, cocksucker." Just walk around with that.
that would fall into the don't wear shit that makes you a target and memorable.
Yeah, there
Damn
you go.
it.
If you got a funny T-shirt on, people are going to remember that. shit.
I'll run it by you before.
Okay. Yeah. Just send a selfie. Send a selfie. I'll take care of you.
Social media shadow banning we talked about a little bit before we got on. You guys have had some
It's a
experience.
sore
with that?
spot. Yeah. I've got 2 accounts completely pulled. It's
So I guess I'm curious your guys' take, like going back to kind of the politics and what role government should play in it or not. To me, I think at the end of the day, the unfortunate reality is it's a business and they can run their business how they want. And I think that's the tough part is it's not a government insured
That's right.
freedom of speech. It's no different than like, this is on a way smaller scale, obviously, but like I've got my online training, teamdog.pet. You can check that shit out. And, but like there's forums in there, right? And so now, like there's been one time in 7 years where I've kicked somebody off because they were just causing tons of fucking problems. But on the same token, it's like I do reserve that right now. I'm not going through people's messages. I'm not, even if they're critical of something that I'm doing and they disagree with it, I've got no problem with that. But when they start attacking, other members or just being blatantly disrespectful to the point where it's like causing problems, then that's where I would say, okay, this is doing more harm than good, and I'm going to fucking kick them out. But so I can at least to a certain extent understand that as a company is that it's like, hey, this is our shit. If you want something different. I think the problem is like the monopolization of between Google, Meta, Google as an entity and Meta combined are all so aligned, methodology and ideology and politically that, and they're so fucking powerful. It's like if you want to develop an app and Apple's like, no, you can't have it on our phones.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost impossible to start something else. Obviously, Trump did Truth Social, and that's obviously blown up enough to still be an entity and exist and has gained momentum, but that's kind of an anomaly. I mean, he was the fucking president and he's a billionaire, so it's like for anybody else, how do you navigate that? But I'm curious to get your guys' take on kind of you've both been shadow banned. I don't know. I've never even checked, but I know that it's like holy fuck, like how is there that few people seeing the things that I'm putting out? Do you have a take on that?
Yeah, I just don't like that it's so one-sided.
Yeah.
And again, I don't like the division in that one side will celebrate it. Even if it was happening to the other side, I would say, hey, that's not right. Like you said, as long as you're not an agitator, doing anything criminal or inappropriately sexual. My content personally was always just goofy, happy, silly, whatever.
Yeah.
And I've been unplugged a couple times, shadow banned for sure. And it's frustrating. Now, luckily, I never monetized through mine. Mine was just kind of for shits and giggles. But we have friends and you guys as well that do monetize through social media and things like that. And it's frustrating, man. You know what I mean? And especially when it's so one-sided. That's the problem I have with it. It's not across the board, or it's not like your policy. You're just kind of removing a troublemaker or whatever. Yeah. But this is definitely targeted. You know, a lot of it's the veteran community. Yeah.
It does seem that way. I mean, I don't get into politics or anything personal on my social. It's all business, but it's combatives and it's risque stuff, right? Yeah. It's guns and knives and anything out of the books, 100 Deadly Skills.com. There's 3 of those. Yeah. And then of course promoting and of course promoting thereadyroom.net. Okay. And all of that is dangerous and scary. And so it wasn't until this last couple of weeks I've had several people say, "Hey, I have to like type your entire handle in order to actually see you." Yeah. And they follow me. Yeah. Which I'm pretty sure that's the definition of being shadow banned, right? I don't know.
I don't know. Like I said, I've not really looked into it. Because similarly, like I really just do business stuff on it, and we talk on the show. It's unfiltered and raw, and anybody and everybody has pretty strong, open opinions. But I don't post that shit. Like it's just, hey, here's the episode. Here's who I had on. Here's what we talked about. What have you? You can watch the show, and I will say. At least for me, to YouTube's credit, like I will say almost half the time it's not monetized. Like they'll say, "Oh, you talked about this, and so you're not getting paid for the show." Which, it's like, okay, fine. I agree. I think that's a good kind of litmus or happy medium of them saying like, "Hey, we're against this, but we'll still put it out there. We're just not going to pay you for it." Like, okay, fair enough. And they even, a lot of people talk a lot of shit about YouTube, but I will say. AdSense wise or monetization wise, like they do a better job at paying their content creators than anybody and by a landslide. They really do. And I would say they even kind of almost to that same point of like, where your money wants to go. Like the advertisers will say, I don't want, like, let's say it's Johnson & Johnson or fucking whoever. They're like, anything with guns, we don't want anything part of that. Like they have the autonomy and the kind of particularity to be able to decide what shows or what type of content that their ads are being put on. Yeah. So, now obviously if most corporations are staying away from all of the things you're talking about, you're going to be demonetized a lot. But the fact that they're, they still pay fairly well considering, and they give that kind of leeway, I think, is a good example of at least somewhat of a happy medium of how it can be done in a decent way. But
I like it.
All right, so a little bit more on politics and national security, because this is, when this show comes out, it'll be right before the election intentionally. Polarization in politics. How do you view the current political divide in the U.S., and what are the long-term implications of this increasing polarization for national security?
I don't know. I think there's always been kind of a political divide. I think it's just we didn't see it when we were kids, obviously. So I used to think like, well, it wasn't so political back in the 80s, 90s, things like this. But then I listened to some audiobooks of politics in the 60s, the Kennedy era and the racial division. And I thought, damn, there's always been periods of turmoil and division. And so maybe I just wasn't aware of it because as a kid, I was more into He-Man and Transformers, not Republicans.
Heavy on
and
the
Democrats.
Clark?
Well, you know.
Transformer means something totally different nowadays.
It does. So I don't know. I don't know if it's actually. Another thing too is the media making it seem worse than it is. Like if you look at any media story, the division of polarization, but then you go to your workplace, everyone's kind of getting along. You go to the gym, everyone's getting along. You go to the grocery store, it's like I don't.
Unless it's COVID and it's toilet paper, everybody's getting along. Yeah, there you go.
That's true. Yeah, where did all the toilet paper? That's the first thing you're going to grab if it's the end of the world.
Right,
first of all, I'm going to use baby wipes, not toilet paper. Like I use toilet paper to blow my fucking nose. Like,
and a lot.
Yeah, and a lot. And with this, I go through a fair bit. I don't get that at all. I will say to your point, I agree. I think that politics. I mean, you can read some of the mudslinging that went on even before this country was a country, like while they were jockeying for power, even in the 13 colonies. But I think the overwhelming big difference nowadays is this fucking thing.
Oh, sure, yeah.
You know, is that now you've got, and if you think about, I mean, look at your screen time, is that every single person is inundated with it. Whereas, 25, 30 years ago, it's like the only time you saw that was maybe nightly news, advertisements, maybe you heard some shit on the radio, you saw a sign in somebody's yard. But now it's like that fucking screen has your attention every few minutes throughout the day, every single day, and it's being shoved down your fucking throat. And so it's like, I agree, I don't think it's any worse. It's just so much more highlighted that now everybody is way more hyper-focused on it.
It's true. That's a good point.
I think the media obviously is the messenger when it comes to galvanization, right? They drive it 24/7 right to the palm of our hand. And I think you're right. If you could fast forward into the future to the end of humanity, the history books will say the creation of the smartphone is where it all began.
Yeah, the beginning of the end.
Beginning of the end, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and in so many ways too. I mean, I think we're in a unique spot where, like I'll call it out, our parents, like on Facebook, like I'm not going to say they don't get it, but they kind of don't get it the same way we do. Maybe even our kids think that about us. I don't know. But I think like we grew up without it, but it was introduced when we were young enough to really experience it, figure it out, and take advantage of it and be a part of it. So like, I feel like Gen X is really kind of the only group that really understands both sides.
Yeah.
Because kids nowadays have absolutely no idea, no fucking concept of what it's like without it.
Yeah.
And I think our parents, like, they use it and they like seeing their grandkids on Facebook and whatever, but they'll see something and be like, holy shit, did you hear about it? It's like, Mom, it's fucking wrong. It's not right. I'm not picking on my mom. Sandy, I love you. She's never done that. I'm just using that as like a bogus example, but it's like I've seen people, whether they fall for like the Nigerian prince scam or, fucking wire fraud, or it's like I think if you start getting people into their 60s and 70s and older, they kind of fall for some of that AI stuff and
deep fakes.
They have a harder time.
Well, they're targeted.
Yeah, they have a harder time discerning what's the internet versus actual real life. And it's unfortunate, but my parents are going to fucking crucify me on this one because I guarantee they're going to watch this one.
We love you, Mom.
Yeah. Sandy and George, fucking shout out.
But I think you hit something that's really important to this whole thing is parenting, right?
Yeah.
So, unfortunately for today's parent, they actually have to parent more because of the technology in their kids' hands.
Yeah.
I mean, you need consistent, constant parenting now. Whereas when I was a kid, you let your kids go out and do things and they learn their lessons, and you were raised on sayings like, sticks and stones will break your bones, but words will never hurt you, and hey, don't half-ass that, and a lot of sayings that had a whole lot of meaning that a lot of these kids and parents could use a little of, frankly, and we wouldn't have half the problems if people wouldn't get so offended so easily.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Clark, you got any add-ons to that? Any Alabama?
No, that was great. Yeah.
Real quick, do you have a Zakk Wylde guitar tattooed on your neck? Is that what that
I
is?
do, yeah.
What model is that?
Yeah, well,
I can't even see it. How do I know that?
It's
saw it
just kind of a hybrid.
All right.
So it's his famous bullseye pattern, but I put it on a different type of...
Easily one of the best guitar players ever.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking what a stud, that guy. Get him on the show. He's not coming. A little bit back to election security, and this is a kind of a different twist on it, is that with this election approaching, what are your thoughts on the current state of the actual election security, and are we doing enough to protect against foreign interference and cyber threats?
I mean, I feel like we've come a long way. On the cyber front, really what we found out, I think, after the last election is that it was more the propaganda had more of an influence than it was like any hacking or the typical stuff that you think of, state-sponsored hacking or anything.
Yeah, the bots with fake accounts that are spreading bullshit.
So I think even Zuckerberg and a couple others even basically have gone to great lengths to shut all that down.
Yeah.
after all the investigations and probes into how social media really, influenced almost every single person right, that voted. So I think they've got a fix for it, but I mean, we won't know until it's over. It's not going to be until the loser starts acting like a loser that.
Well, and how big of a loser they are,
and how
bad they lose.
Yeah.
I also think to that point, like it's one of those fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice. I think most people in the voting age are smarter about that shit too, and can kind of discern the difference between legitimate articles versus total bullshit, or deep fakes or whatever. AI is making it more difficult to fucking.
Oh man,
that is true.
I mean, that shit's getting.
That's the question:
crazy.
Is AI going to be conservative or is it going to be liberal?
I think you can search shit on Chat GPT and get a pretty good idea that it's definitely slanted left.
It does seem that way, yeah.
Which is unfortunate because to me there's a lot of potential there. But just like with everything, there's potential to be taken advantage of. And when, the kind of nutsack of the internet is Google and it's, extreme fucking left in most ways, that's a pretty tough thing to combat,
Yeah.
Defense spending and policy. This is one I really want to get your guys' take on because so much of our money, we talked a little bit about it earlier, but, given your backgrounds, our backgrounds in special operations intelligence, how do you feel about the current defense budget? We'll talk about our current defense budget first before we tackle foreign stuff.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the defense budget has always been kind of a thing of mine because I remember being in the regular Navy, going on a Westpac, 11 warships, and I remember just looking around thinking, how much does this cost the American taxpayer per day? Mm-hmm. We're going out for 6 months. We're going to turn some circles in the Persian Gulf and come back. Like,
do some donuts.
That's it. I mean, is it necessary? How expensive is it? You're talking the ships, the people, the salaries, the ordnance, the aircraft, the fuel. Like, holy shit, what's the price tag of this? And then I think we are one carrier battle group of like 7 or whatever the U.S. has. I don't know. And then, of course, we had our time overseas and, multiple decades. And I just... Dude, I don't know. I don't know that our foreign policy is where it should be, especially as far as the military is being used. Add contractors into that. Now add like funding proxy wars. It just seems like we're a hybrid of like a corporate war machine.
Yeah.
And it kind of, I've read a couple books that, post World War II, America got a little bit different. As coming out of World War II, it's the first time we kept a large peacetime army. Obviously, you got to feed that beast. Different taxes and things came into place. And then we kind of dubbed ourselves the world police. We were a lot more active foreign policy-wise post-World War II than we were before. And some of that, look, I get some of that, but some of it is like kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier. I would love to see some of that money come back into the infrastructure and other things we could do with it. I think we spend a lot of money with our show of force overseas, and I don't know that all of it's on the up and up. And there's been times where I wonder, like, are we the good guys? Depending on the scenario.
Sure.
So I don't know. I'm kind of broken on that,
Well, I mean, to your last statement, I think we all should. Like, you should ask yourself that question, because if you don't, you're probably not. Like if you just always assume that whatever I do is the right fucking thing, there's a good chance it's fucking not, I'll put my points after, give it to you. But.
Yeah, as far as spending here, our military and nothing international, but being from special operations, we're kind of spoiled. We don't really end up feeling what the rest of the military is going through as it relates to budgets, right?
Or cuts.
Yeah. And I don't, if you go back to the basics, if you've got a Democrat in office, well, there's going to be a cut. And if you've got a Republican, there's going to be an increase. It's just the way it is. It's not a big surprise. It's usually what? Right now, I think Biden cut the budget by 6%, maybe less than that. But the reality is in special operations, we don't really feel it. I mean, it's every president, doesn't matter where they're from, they like us, they love us, they want to use us. Most people don't know that the Obama administration, the first 4 years, special operations killed more people than all of George Bush's 8, right? Like Obama was a killing machine, and gave special operations a lot of flexibility, but it was political. He knew that when it was time for re-election, there was 3 words he didn't want brought up. That's detainee, Gitmo, and torture. So if you gave him the option, kill or capture, he always said kill. He didn't want anybody captured. So there are times when I feel like, they're putting all their money in the right place, because special operation and drones is where it's always been for quite a while now.
Yeah.
But then you talk to somebody who was, on a ship during that time, and they're like, dude, it sucked.
Yeah.
It was horrible. Like, they're on rations, halfway through the deployment, and they didn't have enough fuel money and all kinds of issues, and that we're obviously oblivious to because we're spoiled. So, overall, I feel like this administration has done exactly what Democrats do. They cut the money, and but have they? Because it seems like they're kind of stuffing a lot of money in these proxy wars. Which,
well, yeah, I mean, so for our Department of Defense, yes.
Yeah.
For foreign policy, they've increased it exponentially.
I don't think I've seen that before either, especially coming from the Democrats. Historically,
it is a very weird kind of almost flip-flop of party and policy as it relates to blue-collar support with Republicans is far more that way. I mean, if you think about, take, say, 30 years ago, like Rage Against the Machine is at its height, like, and that type of mentality, typically was against, the Republican machine and what have you. And now it's like it's completely flip-flopped. You've got, whether it's, bands like Green Day and Rage Against the Machine, it's like Rage for the Machine.
Yeah, they became the machine.
Yeah, it's like it's like now the Democrat Party is filthy rich elitists, and people that want to stifle your fucking your message and ban certain things and whatever. And it's just like, dude, what the fuck? Like, is Ashton about to jump out of the closet and punk us? Like, what the fuck's going on?
God, I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great.
Yeah,
then we could just go
perfect.
back to normal. Yeah, fuck, you had me there, buddy.
Yeah.
God damn.
But it's a fucking weird flip-flop. And similarly, Republicans have historically, for as long as any of us have been around, have been the more war hawk, fucking preemptive strike.
For
Let's
sure.
go to war.
Yeah.
Fund this fucking war, fund that war, whatever. And there still is the, those types, the Lindsey Grahams, the fucking, guys like that just are all about fucking getting their nose in everybody else's business. But Trump was really the first Republican president that was like, hang on a fucking second, like, no, we're not going to do that, and it is weird to see Democrats for the last 4 years have just been dumping fucking money into Ukraine and now Israel. And it's just a weird fucking mix. So on that, I guess, because those are the two big kind of points of contention. I mean, you can look at Taiwan and other places around the world. I guess I would throw Taiwan in there for your guys' opinion too, but we'll say Ukraine first, Israel second, Taiwan third, kind of in order of the amount of money that we've spent and kind of the circumstances around it. What are you guys' take on our involvement in any of that?
Each scenario is so complicated and so in its own bubble. I spent 2 years in and out of Israel, 03 to 05. And there are just certain parts of the world we should just mind our own business. It doesn't mean we can't be friends and aid other nations and things, but we get so involved just being there attached to U.S. aid, trying to keep peace between the Palestinians and Israelis. I don't even know what the situation in Ukraine would look like. Or China and Taiwan. It's difficult because sometimes two tribes have to fight. They have to figure it out. It's the history of mankind. You can't broker everything. You can't referee everything. Sometimes you just got to let, it's like
nature
two people.
take its course.
Well, my platoon space, we had 2 sets of boxing gloves. Go behind the berm and,
Figure it out.
sometimes you got to duke it out. And I think, imagine someone interjecting in the middle of our situations that we're in. We'd be like, hey, we got this. We're going to settle this our way. And I kind of wish we would do more of that, just across the board.
I think the biggest hurdle with that is that because we are such a powerhouse financially and military war machine capability-wise, platforms, whether it's weapons, munitions, fucking Iron Domes, like we have so much of that, it's like everybody's coming to us saying, hey, man, we need your fucking help. And it's like, who do you decide to help? And even with that, it's like that tough spot, it's like, how far does that go? You know, it's like, hey, can you give us just a little bit of help? And like, okay, yeah, here you go. It's like, man, just a little bit more to get us to this, you know, and it's like,
sure.
Now fucking 2 years later and $200 fucking billion ago. Mm-hmm. And it's like, when is enough, you know, and how much fucking help do we give? And what ripple effect does that have on their opponent? And now we've just created another fucking enemy and caused even bigger problems.
Yeah, I think there's advantages and disadvantages of proxy wars, you know, generally speaking, right? The advantages is you're collecting TTPs and intelligence and technology on an adversary you never have to fight. Yeah. So we can sit in Ukraine and look at how Russia conducts themselves and everything that they've got going on and just collect it all and log it and go, okay, now we know. Oh, now we know this. Oh, we confirm that, right? And you're doing it all without having to really do too much other than give them a whole bunch of money, right? And I think, too, when you look at, you know, policy, you have strategic level policy, you have operational level, and you have tactical level. We were always at the tactical level, which is like, hey, go in and fuck shit up in 6 months and then come home, right? But when you go to that strategic level, you know, where they're looking like, okay, what can we do now that helps us 50 years from now? That's where proxy wars are become really important, you know, because we are right now crippling Russia like they've never been crippled before.
Militarily or economically? Both?
Well, economically, there was 17% inflation before the war even began. Now you got sanctions and everything else against them. I mean, dude, and they're going to North Korea to get more troops, you know? I think that tells us everything. We are effectively ruining Russia, you know, somehow, some way with a small little country called Ukraine, right? And the fact that he's having to go recruit more troops from North Korea is somewhat of a sign of, I guess, success, but it's also on the backside, on the bad side of this, is that also a sign of first steps of World War III. Yeah. You know, so.
I think the other thing, too, is that, you know, I do think that it really highly exposed Russia's paper tigerness.
For sure.
You know, but so with that, it's like, okay, now that we know that, do we really need to keep kicking them while they're down? It's like, you already know just the fact that, like, they're still having to fight. And we knew that, frankly, a fucking month into it. It's like, the fact that you guys are having this much trouble, even 30 days in, tells me you are nowhere near the fucking powerhouse that you wanted everybody to think, and frankly, that most people thought you were.
Right.
So at that point, we could have been like, dude, we don't even need to fucking worry about you guys anymore because you can't even fucking handle Ukraine.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, to me, I can certainly appreciate the fact that you're evaluating and kind of, you know, for the football reference, you know, doing the Patriot sign stealing fucking, you know, like you're figuring the enemy out. But it's like, if once you have that,
you're bankrupting them.
Yeah, but it's like, what's our incentive to just continue to fucking dump money in there and keep it going? That I don't get.
No, I don't agree with it either. It gets old after a while, and you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Would you say the same thing about Israel?
Yeah, I mean, if the end state is to crush Hezbollah and any kind of radical Islam in the region, then you fund it, and knowing that, okay, you know, maybe let's see where we're at in 5 years with this whole thing, because it's not going to happen. None of this is solved overnight.
Yeah.
And I do think they turn on a timer of some sort. Like, hey, we know we're going to be in Ukraine 5+ years. We're probably going to do this Hezbollah thing now for 5 years, maybe less. But it's all about, hey, what's the strategic goal, you know? And you spend a bunch of money. No, I don't agree with that. I think there's other ways to, you know, crush them without that.
In either of those scenarios, for both of you guys, do you see a scenario that could exist that would warrant us putting U.S. troops on the ground there?
Oddly enough, I could see that possibly in Israel, but maybe not so much in Europe. With Russia, Ukraine. I don't know. I think it just really depends on, you know, the tensions in Israel geographically have been biblical for thousands of years. I don't know that they'll ever go away, and I don't know what that would look like. I would hope it would be a special operations mission, kind of like what I think Afghanistan should have been. I don't think you need big army everywhere.
Yeah.
I think a significant special operations presence in that region, I think would really kind of help turn the tides, and also give those people a permanent solution, because it's been a tug of war for forever. And I think the good people of Palestine don't want to be ruled by Hezbollah, Hamas, Islamic Jihad. You know, it's just, I think if we work smartly with all parties involved and really get those bad guys out of there, I think the region could stabilize because of, you know, there's a lot of kind of crossbreeding in the generations. I mean, I saw Arab Israelis, Palestinian Christians, you know, as the generations kind of mix with each other.
Yeah.
I think that the younger people, it's always the old man's fight, right? At any level. You know, their government is as elderly as ours is.
Yeah.
So I really think if we surgically went in there with the right support, I do think because that is kind of a small contained area.
Are you going full colors of Benetton on us? Jack? Is that what's happening? What the fuck's going on?
I don't know. What's in this water, dude?
Well, that's my secret, but you just keep drinking. Yeah, I mean, I mean, maybe I have more of a pessimistic viewpoint on the region in particular. It's just that the vitriol that exists in the entire region, where it's predominantly Arab, towards the Jewish state of Israel. Like, I don't know that them rooting out all. Let's just say hypothetically, you know, pie in the sky, like Israel over the next year has the ability to completely decimate and wipe out Hezbollah and Hamas. Like, okay, then what? Like, I still feel like that ingrained hatred for Jews even living there and existing is so deep in so many other countries. I don't think they're going to let that go. Like, you know, I don't think if they did that, and they're like, okay, now we're going to back up, like, especially with Iran, with the power vacuum in Iraq, and now, you know, Iraq's not keeping Iran busy. I mean, I think that's the biggest blunder of the Iraq war by a landslide, is the fact that, you know, Saddam was the one thing in that region keeping Iran on their toes.
Yeah.
And now for the last fucking 20 years, they haven't been, and look what they've done. You know, they've exploded. And so, you know, while they still exist in the capacity that they do, like, they're never not going to have a hard on for Israel. You know, whether you get rid of every one of their proxies, offshoots, you know, what have you, I don't see that's going to change.
That won't, but, you know, one thing Trump was trying to do in his first term was he was trying to stabilize or broker some relationships between Israel and the more moderate Arab states in the region, and I think that's a good start. You know, some of the more hardcore countries out there would be slower to come around if they ever do.
Yeah.
But I think that was a smart move on him to start brokering some of these.
I agree. You know, incentivizing them to get along in whatever fashion is I think always smarter than trying to make them do it. You know, what's your take on Israel, I guess, as a whole?
I think they're doing exactly what we did, right? You go into Iraq or Afghanistan for 15 years, you know, and you're pissing off a whole bunch of kids that are going to grow up one day. You know, so whatever Israel destroys right now, it will come back. You know, it may take 20, 30, 40 years, but it's going to come back. I mean,
yeah, those operations are sowing or planting the seeds of hatred.
Yeah, it just continues.
For next generations.
It continues what's already been going on.
Yeah.
That's, you know,
True, yeah.
nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. Last but certainly not least, Taiwan. You guys think we should give a flying fuck about Taiwan and try to threaten China over invading it? Would you give a fuck if you were running the show?
That's a tough one. I don't know. You know, China's such a beast, but kind of like you said with Russia, is that a paper tiger as well? You know, I don't know.
I think they're a way more serious threat. You know, maybe not to the degree that some people espouse, even myself at times on this show or other shows I've been on. I do think that they're a much bigger problem. I do. You know, I could be wrong, but I don't get the obsession with Taiwan, frankly. I don't know why we give a fuck. I'm sure that, you know, feel free to hammer me in the comments with why we should give a fuck, but I really don't. Like, in the grand scheme of things.
Sure.
You know, and if it's, well, they produce whatever, chips or fucking whatever whiz-bang fucking mechanism, then we should fucking make that and not worry about it. I mean, that's my take. I don't know why it's such a big fucking deal, frankly.
I think we need to be careful who we pick a fight with, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We need to be smart. We just came out of multiple wars for multiple decades.
Yeah.
And also, some of the guys that we're looking at, like China, it would be plane for plane, tank for tank, technology for technology.
My biggest concern there is, you know, they have so much, from a manufacturing standpoint, like they make so much of the shit that we use.
Yeah.
Like whether they have an ability to fucking, disengage it or neutralize it, or they know enough about it to fucking defeat it. I mean, like that's a fucking problem, man.
They've done it already. I know when I was at NSA, we have you guys have heard of the Stu phone, right? Makes secure phone calls on the Stu.
The bat phone.
STU, yeah. There's different makes and models of these things. Stu, the Steve, blah blah blah. But there was a whole batch of those phones where you can go encrypted. You can go phone to phone and know that, okay, everything's secure. I can talk about whatever I want. And then they started x-raying the power cords. And sure enough, the power cords had been loaded. And guess where they were made, right? I mean, and so, for a long time there, they kind of left those in place, but then changed, the protocols of what you could talk about, what you couldn't talk about, just so that it didn't alert them. And once you kind of know someone's secret, and if you leverage it right, then you can work it to your advantage. But eventually they had to pull every single phone, every single power cord, and start over from scratch. But I mean, you cannot trust. I just, on our consumer product side, I just can't even imagine. All of us, at least we know it, right? There's 20 microphones in every house these days. If you're using Alexa or any of the other items, and my
Ring cameras,
refrigerator, Ring cameras. I mean, it's on every, and not to mention that tracking device we all carry with us every day. Is all made in China.
Last foreign policy kind of question to a certain extent. Obviously, the election's coming up. One of the two of them is going to be elected. If you think about putting any of us in that position, or if you were to be president, how would you approach foreign relations? Would you lean more towards isolationism? Would you be more towards world police in instances where it's warranted? Would you go full bore? If you were the president, how would you approach kind of the umbrella of foreign policy the way that it is, and how it would differ from what it is now?
I'd focus inward at first, and kind of what Clint was saying earlier with personal protection. I would try to de-escalate. I would try to negotiate some peace talks between Russia, Ukraine. I would focus most of my efforts inward. We haven't done that in such a long time. Maybe the 80s under Reagan, I don't know. But for me, if I was president, for sure. And then I would hire smart guys like you to come hang out.
There you go. Not me. I'm not that guy.
No, I'm with you. I think I think we just need to take a knee, right? I think the U.S. needs to take a knee, and let's look out for ourselves, for a little while. Concentrate on our borders instead of other people's borders, and just take a breath and reevaluate everything across the board, and try to repair what we can, and then make it a little bit stronger, and then start moving forward smartly with whatever we do, as far as foreign policy or anything internationally.
I don't disagree with that. I am curious. President, vice president, flip-flop it however you want.
President for sure, dude.
Right.
Did you hear what he just said?
I mean, listen to the acronyms, for Christ's sake. It's got an acronym.
I'll just be the hype man.
No, that's
what he said.
You guys can have that job.
Even during sex, you got a cue card or a fucking acronym for something.
STD.
Everybody's favorite. So let's say we take a knee. You guys are running the show. I always like to ask people what their fucking red line, or what's your personal constitution? Even if that's what we're doing, and let's say it's going reasonably well, what circumstance would make you say, okay, it is time for the United States to fucking go abroad and get involved? What would have to happen, if anything?
Yeah, I think we know act of terror, on the homeland. Any act of terror against U.S. citizens overseas, but make sure it's surgical. We don't need to hit an entire country. We got to hit whatever it is, and make sure intelligence is good to go from the get-go before you go, kicking doors in. I think, if our border got any worse than what it is, I mean, it's already bad, right? So I think action should have already been taken. But I think we're so, with the amount of technology and special operations, you can do a lot now,
without having a full-blown invasion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I remember being a SEAL in the DC area for a while. You get pulled into all kinds of stuff, and there's a team guy who is a legend in the covert world. I won't name him, even though he's out and he's retired, and he probably wouldn't mind, but he was at the Pentagon, and he kind of pulled me over one day, and he's like, "Hey, I'm briefing all these congressmen and senators. Grab some of that fancy tech stuff you got over there at NSA and bring it over." And I'm like, "Huh? What do you mean?" He's like, "Yeah, just whatever you got. Don't worry about it. They don't know what the hell they're looking at." And I'm like, "All right, whatever." So I go over there, and he's briefing them up. But what I left with was, if you've got a couple of experienced, seasoned operators who have transitioned to the operative world, right? Operator being body armor, night vision, kicking in doors, and operative being business casual and have a reason for being there that's not correct, right? You could pull off a lot, right? And seeing that, and then you pair those operatives up with an MQ-9 where the left wing is all SIGINT and the right wing is all kill. I tell you what, man, like, you don't need much to fuck some shit up. You really don't. And so what point being is, we don't need these big muscle movements. But the reason I feel like we do it, and the reason I feel like the Democrats have jumped in on this proxy war, there is nothing better than war in any form or fashion that helps an economy. Anytime we are at war, the economy is the best it's ever been. And so when we were debating, why are the Democrats doing that? And I think that is the reason, because war is what has always stabilized and made our economy better. But who the fuck knows?
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if, VP, what's your take?
What he said.
So I guess.
Well, I agree. I think we just need to be smart with our foreign policy. Like, I'm a big fan of aviation technology, special operations.
Yeah.
I just don't think you need the Jolly Green Giant prancing around the planet.
Is there a scenario that exists where you would say, yeah, we're sending the full brunt of the fucking United States military into your country and going Tecumseh Sherman on you from Civil War?
Man, I mean, I think China is our big question mark, right? Yeah. So what would China have to do to us in order for us to go to that point? I just, that's an interesting
I think they'd have to put some boots over here, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then it's just
or or an EMP fucking balloon that wipes out our economy, or something like that.
Yeah, just kind of like a Pearl Harbor type-ish thing, you know what I mean? Like a direct provocation for sure.
Yeah.
You mentioned the border. It's another hotbed topic. I want to kind of go through some of the biggest policy arguments that take place during, especially this election season, but any of them, the kind of, 3 or 4 that are the most popular. Immigration, border being one of the biggest. I do worry, and I share the viewpoint like that it's already really bad, but I also wonder, step one is shutting the border. Without doing that, I think it's kind of like mopping up a flooded bathroom while the toilet's still overflowing. Mm-hmm. It's like you got to stop the fucking leak first. Before you do that, you're wasting your fucking time. But how do you even go about trying to fucking deport 30 million fucking people?
Yeah. Good luck.
I mean, do you try? Like, what? How do you? I mean, there's not law enforcement to fucking, like, you could take every law enforcement officer in the fucking country, state, local, federal, you name it, and there's not enough people to do that.
No.
So what? Like,
cause a lot of turmoil too, man. You know what I mean? You go scooping people up, then you're viewed as a Gestapo, and it's.
So how do you approach it?
I think first they're gonna, if they even go down this path, it's one thing to say it in a campaign that you're gonna deport everybody who's come in, but the reality is every single one of those people are gonna end up working for somebody. So that means now you're going to take an American business, small businesses mostly, and go, okay, now we're gonna take your workers from you, right? So no matter what you do, it's going to affect the citizens that are either harboring a lot of these illegal, right? There's a lot of Hispanic families in this country that are here legally that are harboring other family members that have come in illegally.
Yeah.
So that's a difficult equation. Then you have a lot of American citizens that own businesses that leverage, these illegals. So no matter which way they go with this, it's not a good deal on the receiving end for anybody here.
Yeah.
It's almost like you just gotta, kind of, hey, we're gonna keep what we've got, make the best of it, and then shut the border off and call it a day.
Yeah. Do you think a happy medium may be completely shut down the fucking border and then have specialized task forces that really highlight and microscopically focus on the criminal aspect of people who are here that shouldn't be, and you just fucking leave the rest of them alone?
I mean, I think that'll come out on its own, right? I mean, there already is. Look at all the Venezuelans murdering everybody. So
I know.
It's like,
But I mean, in terms of a presidential focus or an administrative focus.
Well, we used to do that with Phoenix. When we'd arrest somebody at the end of the booking station for county jail, there was an immigration representative, and if they were a felon, that's how they'd bounce them. So that's kind of a happy middle ground of how to kind of thin the herd, just get rid of the criminal element, and that's just a slow process, though. This is people you have to contact on the street.
Well, I think the other tough part is a lot of them, you don't know that they're criminals because they don't have a criminal history here.
It would be criminal history here that pops up on NCIC. Who knows what they did in Venezuela or El Salvador.
Yeah.
That's what you don't know. That's the scary part.
You almost have to wait.
Yeah. So President Impastato,
I got promoted.
Day one. We're doing the wife swap thing. What? What the fuck just happened? Clark, Jesus, get your mind out of the gutter.
Sorry.
That's my fault. What would you do? Like, you're the president. How would you approach it?
One of the things I've always thought about is, and I don't know how to say this without sounding, but I wish we could deal with the cartel element, because that's obviously, there's a lot of levels to that problem with the drugs coming in, especially now with fentanyl, but they're also in charge of the human trafficking that's come up. Mm-hmm. And I've been on some desert task force that have seen this desert come alive at night, and it's heartbreaking to see how they're treated. I kind of want to pick a fight with the cartels if I was the president. Again, it would be surgically, and that's a tough nut to crack too, because their government's compromised, their law enforcement's compromised.
Would you go to the degree with which you would send United States Special Operations into Mexico and do strategic
clear and present danger?
Probably be some little birds, flying across that border, Yeah, that's what I would because it's not like the cartels are low profile.
Yeah.
They're very easy to pick out. They're very bold. And I would hope that if you did it the right way, that the Mexican people, the Mexican government might actually just kind of like step back and let it happen, because they live under that threat.
Yeah. I would say I have some concern with, if you look at the closest thing I can think of, paralleled to something that's already taken place would be Somalia in '93. Mm-hmm. If you think about the level of funding, training, how dedicated they are, and you take Mogadishu as a singular entity and say, look at how difficult of an enemy they were. Yeah. To me, I think the cartels would be exponentially more difficult to deal with than even that.
Well, we've let that situation fester for so long.
I mean, they've got fucking RPGs, they've got fucking landmines, they're billionaires, they've got all kinds of shit. Yeah. I mean, so like I think it's easy. You see congressmen and government officials saying that, like, oh, we'll go in there, fucking spec ops, we'll fucking like, I think you'd have your hands full more with those guys than you realize.
You'd have to drop bombs for a very long time and just soften that whole system up before you'd want to put anybody in there.
So I guess the big question is do you think there's any president that's going to have the stones to actually fucking go for that?
I don't think so, because it would be messy and it's next door.
Yeah.
And I think there could be repercussions. There's already so many cartel cells in this. I think it would be some shit going down on our streets.
Government officials getting fucking waxed and
that's what I think.
All kinds of shit.
Yeah.
I think they have to go like a more like strategic route with all this. One that benefits us and then hurts like China, right? So and I never understood why we didn't put all of our manufacturing in South America. Why didn't we make Mexico, Central, and South America our China, right? And it's not too late, right? I mean, if we're pulling semiconductor companies out of Taiwan and putting them right here in North Dallas, Well, then that means we can do in Apple's building, a plant up there in Sherman. So to me, it's not too late. So, okay, why don't we just make it a rule that, hey, we're going to take every single manufacturer in China, all you U.S. companies, and build them south of the border. Because if anything is going to fix this stuff, it's the economy. We have to somehow, a creative way of boosting the economy south of us to where people don't want to come here as much. That's just one spoke in the wheel of curing the problem, obviously, but I think that's a big one, because if we can fix their economies and make them happy and make them money, and they're doing it on their own, then that's probably, I don't know what percentage of the solution, but I think it's a big one.
Well, then I think they could
and you're hurting China, by the way, because their economy thrives on our money.
Yeah. They could sell drugs to themselves too, because then they'd all be wealthy and would want to
Exactly.
party. And
There you go. Yeah.
No, I think that's a great point. I think looking at it from instead of just defaulting to we're going to go fuck these people up and is, hey, what's the smartest, or at least what are all the different options we can do at the same time? Maybe not do that, but, incentivize the people to, to have wealth on their own and not just give them fucking money.
Build plants and send in Sicarios.
Yeah. No shit. That's no shit. On that same token, opioids and human trafficking are a huge problem, but we all have seen kind of the degradation with fentanyl and lace drugs, and now it's to the point where a lot of these overdoses are very accidental. It's some crew of spring break college kids that are score a fucking bag of weed and it's laced with fentanyl and fucking kills 9 people, whatever. For that problem in particular, instead of the immigration piece, the drug piece, which I think is, while they're related, the draw for it is very different. So the combating of narcotics as it relates to coming out of Mexico, I think is kind of a different problem to try to attack. What's your take on that?
Well, I think we've heard that like there's like this sub economy as it relates to drugs, right? That if you pulled it, somehow it would like actually hurt our own economy, right? Isn't that what they've said over the years? Like it's
maybe
it's almost like our subconscious, right?
Yeah.
You have the economy, which is our conscious, and then you have the subconscious that is this whole other like drug-based economy beneath it. That if you pull it, it'll will fuck a lot of shit up. And right? I mean, I think that's.
Well, we're also the largest consumer of drugs.
Yeah.
In the world, and so that's part of the problem too, and that's where that sub-economy comes, supply and demand. If we didn't have so many itchy noses here in America, they wouldn't have anyone to sell it to.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of the problem, and I don't know what that would look like. If we just shut that off, would it start coming in from Europe, or you know what I mean?
I mean, to me, like we've been trying. I don't know that it can be, and I think that's part of the problem. I think similarly, like, okay, we've been trying this war on drugs thing since the 80s. I mean, obviously it's fucking not really working. You're catching maybe 10%. It's very cat and mouse and tit for tat. And, so what's another way we could look at it? I think it goes back to, parenting and not even DARE programs in school, but just, better utilization of our education system, to try to help combat that. Maybe that's naive of me to think that, but I think that there needs to be some emphasis put on that. But I mean, that's a tough nut to crack.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of ingrained.
Almost, it's a Darwinism thing. Like if you're going to fuck with it, I mean, there was a kind of a funny and sad clip I saw from Theo Von. He was actually talking to J.D. Vance here recently, and you see the things like.
He keeps talking about cocaine to Trump and Vance, and I'm just like, Theo, dude, what are you?
Well, he was like, I hate to say, he's like, the reason I'm actually sober is because the shit's so dangerous.
Because it's dangerous, yeah.
He's like, if it wasn't dangerous, I'd still do cocaine all the fucking time. He's like, I hate to say it, but it's like you can't even do cocaine in this country anymore. It's like, the fuck, and of course JD's just like,
make cocaine great again.
Make cocaine safe again.
Yeah, right. Well, that's what I mean, though. Going back to that, we are a big consumer of that. It's just a part of our culture, Hollywood, celebrities, athletes, party culture. Yeah. And I think it's maybe ties into the lack of moral fiber in our country that's kind of disappeared over the generations. I think maybe restoring some of that slowly starts to affect other things,
Yeah, yep. I guess I'll ask you guys, what do you think, say, the top three or any of the other big ticket items that we haven't talked about as it relates to this election, and what, if there are single issue voter policies that exist that we haven't talked about that are worth talking about?
President?
I'll throw one.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll throw one out while you guys think of it. And people may say, why are three dudes talking about abortion? Mm-hmm. But it takes two to tango, right? So men are part of the equation. I think that gets left out a lot. What is your guys' opinion on abortion? Whether or not it should be a federal issue? If it is better that it's kicked to the states, do you think there should be a ban? Like what do you think?
I used to default to what Ross Perot had. Admiral Stockdale was running as his VP, and then I remember I was a kid. I think it was high school or something, and it was the vice presidential debates, and they asked Stockdale, like, what do you think about abortion? And he's like, I'm not a woman. Next question. And I was like, there's something to that, right? If you're far right, then it's like, everyone lives, and if you're far left, everything dies, and it's a little ridiculous. I think it highlights an actual bigger problem. We get, how many decades has this been the debate?
I mean, since the 60s.
And then every presidential campaign, I would say, I don't know, you guys tell me, like 90% of what they debate is what we've still been debating.
Yeah.
So where is the real change at the end of the day? If it's always going to be the economy, it's always going to be abortion, it's always guns, and it's always most of everything that the current, campaigns are battling about, you could say that 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago was the same. Now there's nuances, the border, or, in the 80s it was whatever, communism, or, there's always going to be those other kind of radical oddballs, those outliers. But for the most part, like every campaign, we're always debating about the same shit. And it's like, okay, well, has anything really changed? And why do we keep doing this?
Yeah.
I think that's the bigger issue. It's like, fucking, why haven't we nipped any of this in the bud yet?
Yeah. I don't disagree. I guess to me, at a kind of a singular level, do you think that abortion should be a federal issue or a state's issue?
State.
Yeah,
I think a lot of these issues should be at the state level, because the true freedom we have as Americans is I can choose to live in a state that most closely aligns to my values.
Yeah.
But if it's a federal decision, no matter what it is, you're pissing off half the country.
Yeah.
So I think most things, and I think our forefathers kind of had that in vision. You have these options, small federal government, power to the states and the people, and that way, like, hey, I like how they roll in Texas. Most people can figure out a way to relocate there, even if it's uncomfortable financially. But if it's a federal thing, whether it's guns, abortion, now guns is different because it's Second Amendment, so that is kind of the exception to that. But I'm just a big fan of things at the state level, because then I can decide my tribe, you know what I mean? But if it's a federal decision, you're stuck.
I think anything that relates to my body and it's medical, should have limited involvement from anybody.
Yeah.
It's my decision. And if the capabilities are out there, then, of course, you take advantage of it. My medical history is going to be confidential with HIPAA and everything else. That's not me saying that, okay, you're a baby killer, right? These crazy stories you hear about 9-month-old abortion. Like, I don't even, who the hell does that?
Yeah.
It's fucking nuts to me. Like, if you're that far and you're deciding that, oh yeah, let's just kill this thing. It's like, that to me is extreme. But if you're in that reasonable window, whatever, the first couple of weeks or whatever, and a woman wants to do what she needs to do, to move on with life, then so be it. I don't think it needs as much government involvement as it does.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. I do or can understand the predicament of saying where is that line of it's okay and it's not okay. That I don't fucking know. Is it 12 weeks? Is it 16 weeks? I mean, I don't know.
So the whole heartbeat thing. I mean,
Each state should figure that out because there's always so much debate. When does life start? Is it conception? Is it the heartbeat? Is it the...
Yeah, and there may be some states where the majority want it to be completely fucking banned under every circumstance, but that should be sorted out at the state level. And for me, the biggest heartburn I have about the current political climate as it relates to abortion is the blaming of Donald Trump took away the right to get an abortion in certain states, and they've got like these cases of, my stepdad raped me and I became pregnant in 12 and I had to go out of state, or, there's cases of like women died because they didn't get an abortion because they were in a state where it was illegal. And, to me, it's like there's so many flaws with that. And I'm not trying to wave the flag one way or another. It's just, to me, like, at least be honest about it, is that, he elected or put forth 3 Supreme Court justices that he thought, and I would agree, are more constitutionalists than they are conservative Republicans. And I think that's how every Supreme Court justice should be. You should have zero idea how they think politically based on their policy decisions. But neither here nor there in this regard is that he put them forth. Well, they had to be confirmed by the Senate. So there were, your representatives for whatever fucking state you live in, like, confirmed that guy or gal in one case. So, that's step one. And step two is that all that did was kick it back to the states. It didn't outlaw anything. So if you have a fucking problem, have a problem with your state elected officials. They're the ones who are conducting the policy that the federal government is saying, we're staying out of it. It's up to you guys. Like you're barking up the wrong fucking tree. Like, that's an easy scapegoat, and it's a political football that gets thrown around, but it's a crock of shit. It's like, if you have a problem, either fucking move or write a letter to the people in your state that are making those decisions, because that's where it's coming from. Like,
and a lot of that was the messaging of the media. They made it seem
Agreed.
like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
and so people don't understand, like, dude, he didn't make it illegal.
Yeah.
He just kicked it back to the states.
Yeah.
I find it interesting, just the whole, anytime government gets involved in medical, because like, let's say I had HIV and I'm going around and giving it to, let's say 5 people a week.
You're getting laid a lot, Clint.
Well, I'm just saying, like, imagine that right now, where is all that happens?
Yeah.
But yet no one's talking about it. No one's doing anything about it. Right.
Yeah.
But that's going on all the time. But yet, where's the debate about it? Yeah. I mean, that is that you talk about like taking life and potentially murdering somebody. Yeah, now they got a pill you can take, but if you don't know that you have it, then you'll never take the pill and you'll end up with AIDS and die. So I just find it interesting that picking and choosing the medical stuff that you're gonna,
the things to die on a hill over versus not.
Yeah. Like I get it. It's controversial and it gets clicks and views and fucking everything else,
Yeah. Did you guys come up with any hotbed issues?
No, not really, other than we're just always debating about the same shit every 4 years.
It is true, yeah.
Would you guys change anything in terms of big ticket policy that stirs people up if you had the ability to do it?
Oh, yeah.
What would it be?
IRS. Yep. I think.
Let's talk about taxes.
I think crushing the IRS and just going nationwide at, maybe somewhere between 10 and 15% across the board. And
do you want to go 12.5 and split it?
Yeah, there you go. That sounds good to me.
I like 10.
Compared to what we're paying right now.
Right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think 10 makes the most sense. Either way, I think a flat tax makes the most sense, because then everybody has skin in the game.
Yeah.
Whether you make fucking $400 a month or $4 million a month, like you at least are contributing and you have a fucking say. Because to me, there is an element of, and I'm not saying necessarily to go as extreme as if you don't pay any taxes that you don't get to vote, but there is a component of that I think if you're allowing people who aren't paying into the system but can vote on policies that benefit them not doing it, that is a problem. And that happens all the time.
Yeah.
And I think, a flat tax, number one, like, there's now no loopholes. It's not going to cost you thousands of dollars to figure out how much you owe, and then for the IRS to come and tell you you're wrong anyway. Like, that's always baffled me. It's like, why don't you just tell me how much you think I fucking owe instead of making me figure it out and then fucking with me if I'm wrong.
Right.
It's like, just tell me what the fuck I owe.
Yeah, well, especially since tax code is like the most
it's the
difficult
most ridiculous shit in the world.
Right.
Ridiculous.
The other piece of the whole like tax thing that I think at a big level is if you look at our gross national product, right? We're the richest country in the world, okay? In all the money that's inbound, okay, and it's broken up into this pie chart, only 14% of it is our taxes. 14%. If you took, like said, hey, guess what? You don't have to pay income tax. You don't have to pay property tax. You don't have to pay any kind of tax anymore. You would subtract that 14% from that big GNP or what the gross national product, domestic product, right? And we'd still be the richest country in the world. The reality is our government doesn't actually have to tax us at all.
Yeah.
They choose to, for whatever reason, for that 14% of the pie. But the rest of the pie is, we've got plenty of money coming in.
Yeah.
The government doesn't actually need our tax money.
I mean, especially if you look at how mismanaged and poorly spent it is, whether it's foreign aid, whether it's, I mean, the waste, fraud, and abuse that we've all, I won't even say have just witnessed, have fucking been a part of. Like, how many fucking cases of ammo did you throw over the side of a fucking ship? Like,
right.
As one stupid small example of a much bigger problem. You know, it's like we could have a very capable and effective warfighting force and spend probably fucking 20% of what we spend on it.
Yeah.
But that's with every facet of the government.
Right. If you don't spend it, you'll lose it. Right.
Yeah.
So what do? You end up wasting a bunch of money just so you get the same budget and or more next year.
Yeah. Kind of in the same token, did you have a tax idea?
No, I agree. I've always been a big fan of the flat tax.
Yeah. 10%?
Yeah, I just think it's 10% always sounded pretty good to me.
Yeah.
Take it before I see it, my paycheck, then what I get's mine, and then you could really eliminate the bloating of the bureaucracy of the IRS and related agencies. It's just silly that even exists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Healthcare. What's your take on healthcare?
I don't know, man. I'm a part of the VA, dude.
So you're not for socialized medicine?
Yeah. People that think they want some free shit, stand by, because
go to the
I think
VA.
it took 8 months to get an MRI on my right hip. It's been 4 months, still no feedback from it. Like, it's just, it's horrible.
I think it's exactly the same as we have the military industry complex, and you have healthcare is exactly the same. Yeah. It's, big pharma, it's hospitals, it's the whole system. They're all in it together, to make as much money as possible. Pharma wants you hooked on the drug, so you keep taking the drug, so they keep making money. Hospitals want you to be sick and want you in there so that they can continue to provide. But it's one big money grab, and they're all in bed with one another. And until you kind of cut all the ties and really put them in check, then healthcare is always going to be very expensive in this country for anybody who needs it. Or, in my case, like my mom, when she was dying, she was in ICU for 10 days straight. It was $50,000 a day. So they sent me for 10 days. She ended up dying, meaning they failed. Yeah. They didn't do their job. And then send me a bill for $500,000. Yeah. Right? What fucked
Sorry
up
for your loss. Also, fuck you.
Like in what other industries, by the way, that when they fail, they don't do their job correctly, they still get paid. Yeah. Right?
Lawyers and investment bankers.
And politicians.
And doctors.
Yeah.
Right. Across the board, man. Yeah, they all get paid no matter whether they do a good job or not.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's another component too, is that I agree in that, like, the bloating and scratching each other's back and, insurance billing this and that, like, it's all a fucking scam. But there's a whole other side of that coin, I think, that a lot of people don't talk about, which is the personal responsibility of, doing and making good personal choices to not be part of the problem. Mm-hmm. And I think, where I see the biggest issue is the way insurance is supposed to work. Pick any type of insurance, but health insurance specifically, it's like it only works if there are more people paying into it than need it. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And so if you've got a population that's obese and diabetic and fucking cancer ridden and filled with all kinds of processed bullshit that's causing massive problems everywhere in your body, there is no math there that adds up. Like people, get in the weeds and argue about insurance premiums and Obamacare versus this versus that. The reality of it is none of that matters because the math is never going to fucking add up if there's more sick people than healthy people buying into insurance. So to me, it's like you can't see the forest for the trees. Like you're not even looking at the right fucking problem. Like the problem is the math never works with the way people don't take care of themselves. So kind of in that same vein of I'm seeing a pattern of trying to incentivize is that, like with good driver discounts or whatever, like there needs to be some sort of incentivization that says, hey, if you're a fat fuck, and you wash Twinkies down with fucking Dr. Pepper and watch, and don't do anything about it. But, and watch fucking Jerry Springer and, you're just a fat load, and you're a fucking part of the problem. It's like, there needs to be something set up, and I would hope that within the confines of our government that there are enough people that have a level of intelligence sufficient to figure out how to best do that. But to me, that's a big part of the problem that nobody talks about or never gets mentioned as a potential fix.
No, I think you nailed it. I think the third piece of that triad that I didn't mention earlier is the food in this country, right? And you look at, you got the nutrition aspect and, whatever additives and the sugars that they put to make it addictive, right, puts us all in an unhealthy position, which then benefits medical, which then benefits pharma, right? And that's the triad right there that needs to be broken, really looked at. And it all goes back to food. Because if we can get our food squared away, make it clean, make it truly organic without breaking the bank, then, man, you're going to basically put pharma in check and the hospitals and healthcare in check.
And I think the big problem there is coming full circle to the beginning part of our discussion, which is bribery / what's the fucking word? Lobbying, is that, the three most powerful fucking lobbying groups or lobbyist groups in this country are food, medicine, and fucking healthcare, So, when all of the policy that's being put in place is, their pockets are being lined by those three groups, how do you combat that? I don't know. Like we've come full
salary
circle
caps
and
treat lobbying firms like the NFL. You can't let them have $1 million a year because
I just think it should be fucking banned. Period.
Well, yeah, that too. I mean, if you can't get rid of them though, you can cap them.
Yeah.
Like J.D. Vance and I think it was Vaughn talking. I saw a clip where he was bringing that exact thing up. These lobbyists making $1 million a year are sucking all the talent out of the very campaigns that these guys, all their guys are jumping boat, right? Yeah. Once you've been successful with a Vance or with a Trump or even with a Harris, right? Those lobbyists are right there to grab all the smartest, most intelligent and talented folks and pull them in, give them $1 million a year, and heck, there's nothing left for those people to do good, right? Because they've been sucked up by the salaries that they get, and which, hey, once again, capitalism over democracy.
Yeah. Any topics? You guys think anything?
It kind of relates to what you were saying earlier. I'm a big fan of personal accountability. I think related to a lot of the things we've talked about, especially healthcare, a lot of people just want to blame other things, other people, other systems. And I just think if you really take care of yourself, especially like as we're aging, it's even more important to eat healthy, meal prep, intermittent fast, whatever it is you're doing.
You might be aging. I'm not.
No, you guys are great.
Yeah, shit.
Young.
But I think I've been more aware of it because when you're younger, you get away with more shit.
Yeah.
And as you age, it's like, all right, I need to kind of do this and that. But you realize, like you were saying, that if I take care of myself, I don't have to rely on the healthcare system. I don't have to rely on pharmaceuticals. And especially nowadays, there's plenty of supplements out there. And it is a bit of an effort to try to shop for healthy foods because there's so many tricks with labeling and sugar-free, but it's got also other shit, or it's organic, but it's really not.
Yeah. Well, that's where the FDA being fucking crooked,
that,
right?
Yeah,
The
USDA,
USDA,
part of that.
Like them saying this is good. I mean, they still recommend canola oil is recommended by the American Heart Association. Like that in and of itself should tell you how fucked our system is. It's like
that's what's scary. Yeah, you can't even trust those institutions that were installed to guard against that.
Or it's like, well, my doctor said, like, your doctor's a byproduct of that crooked, fucked up machine. Like I don't like.
Scary.
To me, like I'll listen to my doctor if it's you have this physical fucking problem, but like when it comes to lifestyle or you should be doing this instead of that, like I don't give a fuck what they think. Like I mean, most of them just look at them. You know, it's like there's some doctors that take good care of themselves. There's a lot that fucking don't.
Yeah, most of them don't.
Yeah, it's like you look at them like, who the fuck are you to tell me how to live? Like, look at you, you fuck.
I'm with you.
Anyway,
They're fat and ugly.
fat and fucking ugly.
Yeah.
I know you
those
can't
guys.
help being ugly, but you can help being fat. Do you have a favorite submission? You're into jujitsu.
Yeah. I like
The thumb in the ass?
Yeah, the oil check. Yeah, absolutely. Mother's milk is my highest percentage. Mother's
right?
milk. Yeah, top pressure.
You
Mother's milk.
motorboating son of a bitch.
I did. That's right.
I love it. For those of you that don't know what that is, just go to a jiu-jitsu gym and say, "Can you teach me the mother's milk?" smothered with titties. Who doesn't love to go out like that?
Little man boobies.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite strike or kind of first move since you're more of the on the feet striker boxer?
I mean, when you get in, like, once again, the reactionary gap, you know, whoever makes the first move usually wins if they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a palm strike is definitely the way to go. You want to keep your hands ready for the next whatever it's coming. So as I'm teaching like crisis and stuff, you know, the last thing you want to do is
Ball your hand.
break fingers, break knuckles, metacarpals, whatever. And yeah, so good solid palm strike, you know, to the knockout triangle usually does the job.
Yeah. Do you guys have a favorite carry pistol?
I like the 365, dude.
Yeah.
You know, I hate to kind of jump on that trend, but I
got one in my bag
I've been
right
beating
now.
it up, and
Yeah,
and
it's a
I
good gun.
eventually modded it out to the X Macro.
Yeah.
I like that it's modular. It was an original 365, then a XL, and now an X Macro with a little tweaking, and I like it a
that's
lot.
cool.
Yeah.
I carry shadow, you know, any kind of shadow systems gun.
You kind of have to.
Kind of, sort of, yeah. You know,
Yeah, maybe.
shadow systems. You know.
Yeah.
Disruptor.
To me, it depends on where I'm going and why I'm carrying it too. I will say, like if I'm riding, I'll carry my 43X because it's the smallest, lightest, easy to carry, and whatever bike I'm on, it's never comfortable carrying. I know you typically rock the fanny pack, but I usually go inside the waist. That's where I like to have it, I guess, riding. So I'll, or if I'm in like catch me, fuck me, run shorts or whatever, then I'll carry that again just because it's the smallest. My go bag that I always have on me has the SIG 365 in it. But if I am intentionally going somewhere where I think there's a higher chance that I would maybe have to use it, then I'll usually roll with a full size frame, and I actually go with the Wilson Combat fucking SF90X or SF9X, I think it's called, which is a fucking great gun. It's kind of similar to the Staccato, like super high end 1911. Just shoots like a fucking dream, though. You know, like I wouldn't want to rock it, appendix or while I'm driving or whatever, but like inside of a jacket in a chest rig or outside the waist or something. It's a fucking great gun. But, favorite blade of any kind? Just whatever.
I mean, EDC, I'm a folder.
Really?
I just love fixed blades, though. But my EDC is a folder.
A specific brand or just whatever?
Low torque combat for sure. And fixed blades, I've been getting into DMO, Dead Moose Ops.
I'm not familiar with that.
So I actually have a collaboration with them coming up. We got a
right?
project we've been working on that'll drop November 15th. And so I've been a big fan of theirs forever. Got a bunch of their blades, and then they approached me like...
Is it like you designed a blade kind of thing?
Pretty much.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so I don't want the cat to be out of the bag, but I'm kind of excited by it. But as far as fixed blades, I've been a fan of theirs for a while, and I was honored. They hit me up, and I was like, are you sure? Like,
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, I'm low-hanging fruit, bro. I'll hop on this with you. So I'm kind of stoked about that project.
Yeah, that's fucking great.
Yeah.
You kind of carry.
Yeah,
one.
I've been carrying Amtac, which is Bill Rapier's blades, for quite some time, and then I've got at least plug this guy. He's kind of just got this new one, an ADS Crusader. This thing is, it's kind of built for the collie world. They say anytime a collie person pulls his blade, he's got 10,000 hands with him. to represent the tribe, the Sayak tribe. So they're pretty ruthless, but yeah, got to check these out.
What's the brand?
ADS.
ADS.
Crusader. Yeah,
Like a
good
fucking
stuff.
pig sticker.
Nice.
It is. It's a full size blade, but you don't even know you've got it. The way that it carries. So
I like it.
That's what she said.
Pretty.
yeah.
Any fucking alibis? Anything else? Any fun stories? Stupid jokes? Fucking childish tantrums? Anything you want to fucking throw in? What haven't we fucking talked about? What problem haven't we collectively solved?
I think we did pretty good.
Speed limits.
Speed limits. Fucking
limits.
let's get into speed limits. Clark, what do you think the speed limit should be?
Oh,
'Cause I know what
the
Clint thinks.
Autobahn, dude.
We're all on the
Yeah.
same page. You
Yeah.
think there's you were so all right.
Get rid of the
All
speed
right.
limits.
But
Yeah, I
so
think
you were a
so.
cop, right? You still think that no speed limit is the way to do it across the board, or what? Or just in certain areas?
Where I worked at, traffic enforcement wasn't even a thing. The hood, there's more stuff you got to do. Highway guys are more the traffic enforcement. Maybe
Let's
some
say you're a
county guys.
highway guy. Do you think that there should be a fucking speed limit?
I kind of want it to be like the Cannonball Run, man. I want that radar to say like, holy shit,
It
140.
just blanks. It's fucking
It's all zeros,
dotted
like,
lines.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. Obviously certain areas you got to worry about kids, residential areas, schools, and things. But I do think on certain roads, it's just kind of a silly thing. And I'll tell you, as a cop, I spit everywhere. You know, it's just they're kind of hypocritical, right?
When you're carrying a badge, you guys just go, eh.
Yeah. Oh, hey, yeah, you're
Yeah.
cool. Get out of here.
That's why I had a problem with traffic enforcement because it's like
Would they ever ticket you?
there's supposed to be some. You're not supposed to do that. It's kind of an unwritten rule.
the club.
Yeah.
There is, but sometimes there's rivalries as well.
So like, oh, you're from fucking
Like,
Phoenix?
oh,
Like,
all
yeah, I'm
right,
gonna write
yeah.
you a fucking ticket,
That's it.
dickweed.
Give you a 6-pack. Just write you 6 violations, and you're like, all right, motherfucker. Okay.
Yeah.
I just look at it as that there's better things for our law enforcement to be doing than sitting on the side of the road worrying about how fast I'm going. It just,
It's silly.
it's just, I just think, hey, get rid of them. Treat it like the Autobahns. They have less accidents, less fatalities, less of everything over there, because they're not doing the knee-jerk reaction and slamming on their brakes because they see a cop. Right? That's a lot of times our reactions here because of something we see, or we see the speed limit sign, or you're reacting to your environment. But if there's nothing to react to, then it's like the Autobahn. It ends up actually being safer, less fatalities.
Yeah,
across
the
the board.
statistics back that up too. Even here, when you look at what the stats are on fatalities at certain speed limit ranges, it's less.
Yeah.
It's like, what's the fucking problem? Like, is it just a revenue driver? You were part of the machine.
Exactly.
What do you think?
Yeah, I
Tickets.
think a lot of it is. Traffic enforcement's a huge
Money maker.
revenue, for the city for sure. But luckily where I was at, like I said, they didn't push. There were no quotas or anything like that. But
Do you know
I think
places for sure where there are?
I don't know for sure.
Because everybody, like any cop I've ever had on, is like, no, there's no real quotas. It sure fucking seems like there is.
Yeah, I don't know for sure of any department that
Is there
I'm
a
aware of.
bragging right thing where it's like,
I
got
for nerd
fucking-
cops, if you're Ponch and John back in the 70s, definitely the state troopers, their main focus is traffic enforcement. So I imagine to look good in front of your supervisor, you got to go out there and write tickets. You know what I mean? It's like for us, it was felony arrests. That's how you kind of
justified your spot.
kind of that pecking order on your squad or whatever. So it has to be that way with traffic enforcement. I don't know. It's a weird thing, but certain areas, let it rip. And if you're uncomfortable with that, stay away from those certain areas. You know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Are you guys worried about where this country is headed? The election coming up, like, are you legitimately fearful for how things may go?
Yeah, I am for sure. I really think there's a potential for some shit to go sideways no matter who wins. And I also think we have set the precedent that no matter what happens, there's going to be an uproar of stolen election.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just, it's kind of, that pattern has been established, and I just don't want to see chaos in the streets. You know what I mean? I think the stage is kind of set almost by design from the media, from politicians, that no matter what happens, I would just encourage people to just don't get involved
Yeah.
in any type of uprising. I worry about these trends continuing and getting worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. I think everyone needs to take a step back and go, okay, does the person sitting at the White House really, truly affect my daily life? Mm-hmm. Do they? You know, we have a Democrat in the office and the gas prices just fell. It has nothing to do with the president, right? It's OPEC. That's other people halfway around the world decide what we pay for gas. I mean, are there some things that need to be fixed? Yes. And is there a lot of things that we're concerned about? Yes. But who's sitting up there from 4 year to 4 year to 4 year to 4 year, generally speaking, doesn't really affect my day in and day out life that much.
Or I guess I would say unless you allow it, or it only affects you as much as you allow it to.
Yeah, you can get emotional
within
about
reason.
anything,
Yeah.
but like
I do think with gas it's a little different in that, you know, if the domestic energy production policies are stifling, then that's for sure going to play a role. I do think that it's not as relative as some people think it is to who's in office. I think it does matter.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's, you know, that black and white where it's just fucking, you know.
No, Texas right now is providing 50% of the fuel in this country.
Yeah.
Right? 50%. I'm like, why isn't it cheaper?
Yeah, no shit.
You know?
Should be,
like, why isn't it cheaper? I don't get it. But yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about? Cars, bikes, Clint Ready Room stuff, anything you got going on? Plug your shit. Tell a fucking sick joke. I don't care.
Dude, for me, other than male enhancement surgery, you know, got my penis pumped up a little bit, but
now? When did that happen?
I got it scheduled for a couple weeks from now. No, the newest thing I'm into since last May was open mic stand-up comedy. So it's kind of my new hobby.
Dude, that's fucking pretty wild.
It's
You've
fun.
done it before.
Yeah, I've been doing it since May. It's terrifying, dude.
I can't even imagine.
It's and especially since I'm doing it in Sacramento. I'm dropping war stories on hippies.
Dude, no shit.
But my mentor, shout out to Steve Simone, love you, brother. He's if you can get laughs in Sacramento, you get laughs anywhere. You'll be all right. So I'm kind of cutting my teeth there, and it's scary, dude.
How many times have you done it?
Oh, over 10 to 12 for
Really?
sure. Yeah. I try to get up.
You write a script and memorize it and
it
kind of
depends
roll?
where you do. Where I go now, the punchline, they give you 3 minutes.
Oh,
And
so it's impromptu.
It's quick, yeah. So, I mean, I kind of have notes, what I want to talk about. And it's fun, though, because it makes you see the world differently. I'm now the class clown again. And so everything, I'm constantly on my phone like, oh, shit, I got to type that. So I type my notes, and then I type it up in a Word document, and then I have note cards where I'm actually kind of laying out my set. But what it's done is it's turned me into that class clown that I've been since the 2nd grade.
Yeah.
You see the humor and comedy and everything, something you see on TV, a conversation at work. And so it's really fun to kind of put that together in a set. It's going to take several months, maybe several years for me to get comfortable in a room full of strangers. I'm good situational, you know, hey, at the barbecue or at the party or platoon space or whatever. But to get up there in front of strangers is like, holy shit.
Yeah.
It's kind of terrifying. But like anything, I see it like guitar and jiu-jitsu. It took about a year before it even felt slightly comfortable.
Yeah.
And so I'm giving myself that same time frame with stand-up. But I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, what else am I going to do as I become an old fart? I can get on stage and talk shit, you know?
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. It seems like from a mental health standpoint, it would improve your outlook on life and put you in a better mood because you're always thinking of things that are funny.
That and the feedback you get from an audience, that energy. But you're right. Yeah, your state of mind is always different because you're looking for that silly scenario, and it is really good for mental health. And I also hope I have a good demographic with veterans, law enforcement, you know, the stuff that we can all joke about, dark humor. If I could kind of get up on that and get to like a Marine base or USO tour once I'm really up and running with it, I'm excited about it. And I'm in good hands with my mentor, Steve. He's a veteran of the community, so I have.
Yeah. Is there a tip for somebody who's thinking about doing it other than like just do it? But I mean, in terms of like the strategic application of how to do it, is there one thing that you would offer as advice?
Yeah, for sure. And it's kind of like any skill set we've developed is just learn to relax, learn to enjoy it. You know, especially in the beginning. It's kind of like when you start jiu-jitsu, you're not going to be the next Hoist Gracie or ADCC champ. It's the same with stand-up comedy. You're not going to be the next Dave Chappelle. Just get up there and enjoy it. Enjoy that moment. have some fun. It doesn't even really matter what you say. Just be yourself.
Yeah.
In fact, at the Comedy Store, it says something like, you have 3 minutes. You don't have to be funny. Just be yourself. Something like that. And when I read that, it kind of hit home. Like, it's just nice to get up there and just be in the moment. And don't take it so serious. Just like we all do, like shooting or martial arts, like just enjoy the process and realize you're going to suck at first.
Yeah.
And it sucks to bomb. You know?
Yeah. Have you had total crickets fucking bomb jokes?
I had a bad set. Again, I had a tough crowd. You know, it's kind of a young, hip, downtown liberal crowd. And I'm joking about, you know, shooting people or, you know, some things are generational.
Yeah.
You know, I might be talking about the Squiggly channel, and to a 20-year-old, they're like, fuck is the Squiggly channel? I'm like, that's how we used to look at titties, bro. You keep clicking that dial. Like, there's a nipple, you know. So some of that is, you kind of learn to read your audience, you know.
Yeah. Do you have a joke that like has worked every time that has always been? And can you even say it in this context, or does it kind of have to be on stage? Like
It is. It's different.
It's not really jokes anymore. It's storytelling.
Well,
right?
and it depends what type of comic you're going to be, right? Well, I'm more of a storytelling comic because of my shenanigans from overseas and living in Thailand and all that. And so it's not set up punchline. For me, it's hard, especially with a 3 to 5 minute set, because I have to kind of set the stage and
build
and
it
you
up.
got to hook them pretty quick too. You just can't ramble on.
Yeah.
So for me, that's a challenge. When I can graduate to be like an opener for somebody and I get a 10-minute set, now I can really kind of paint the story of my masturbation habits at buds. Or, you know, it takes a while to set that shit up. You know?
Yeah.
takes longer to set it up than it does to actually do it, doesn't it?
That
Clark?
is true.
That is true.
I do not need 3 minutes.
Have you seen Kill Tony? I'm sure you're familiar.
Yes,
Like,
I want to get out there, but that's 60 seconds.
that's the thing. Like, dude, a minute that's tough. Like, you got to be able to fucking deliver immediately.
And you got 4 veteran comics there.
Yeah.
It's kind of like your oral board or something.
Yeah.
You're like, damn, dude.
Yep.
Yeah, I want to get out there, but the guy that's mentoring me, I said, dude, not yet, man. Let me get my blue belt in comedy first. I'm a no stripe white belt, you know, like let me, because that's savage, dude. And I've met Tony down at the Comedy Store. Very nice guy, but as a comic, he'll slit your throat, man.
Yeah.
He's sharp.
Oh,
dude.
he's brutal, man. That whole panel is, I mean, some of the shit, like I see, now granted, I mean, it reminds me a little bit of American Idol and Simon Cowell a little bit. It's like some of the people that are on there, it's like, how have there been that many people in your life that haven't been honest with you about where you're at? You know, it's like,
you should do something else.
yeah. I mean, there's some people that's like, oh, it's my first time. Or like, oh, I've been doing it for 2 months, you know, but some people are like, oh, 7 years. Like,
And they suck,
how do you suck that bad after doing anything for 7 years? But yeah, I agree. Like, that would be daunting to have 60 fucking seconds to try to impress him and 2 or 3 other fucking.
I've tried to do that, simulated in my bedroom, and it's
tough.
like I said, it's hard to have a 3 or 5 minute set, but 60 seconds, you got to come out.
Yeah,
swinging,
especially if
man.
that's the kind of comic you are, as more the storyteller. That's impossible, I would think. You know?
It is. Yeah.
Anybody else? What didn't we cover? Anything? You guys want to?
Just who we're voting for.
Yeah. Are you gonna talk about that?
I already voted. Yeah.
Who'd you vote for?
Trump.
Trump.
Yeah.
Mike?
It's the Three Musketeers.
What state? You're Iowa.
Yeah.
So Trump. What state?
California.
Are you? California. Trump. Texas. Trump. There we go. We just said it out loud.
That's it. Oh
Now
boy, here we go.
We're up to now we're at 2 views. As soon as this airs, 2 views.
Well, it's at the very end. So.
You should put it at the beginning.
You know what's funny is it's funny that's even an awkward conversation, or obviously we're not shy to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
But
give
we're
a fuck,
unusual people, but a lot of people are scared to say something.
I think it's obvious. You just cannot have Harris in there. Like, just can't. She didn't earn the right. She didn't do the rite of passage. You know.
Yeah.
I think, to me, as much shit as I talk about single issue voters, I do think, the lifeblood of this country in terms of immigration and border security is a big enough deal by itself.
Yeah.
To vote for somebody or not for somebody.
For sure.
In terms of where it's at right now. 20 years ago, it wouldn't have been. Now it is, and I think 4 more years of what's taken place for the last 4 would be the detriment of this fucking country.
Yeah, we'd be done.
We'd really be done. Yeah. I also do think that there is a part of, I think, we may all would be better served by nobody talking about who they would vote for, not having any signs in your yard or any flags or any of that shit. I've never really understood that anyway, because It's like all that's doing is inviting people that don't like that candidate to fuck with you.
Mm-hmm.
The people that like him are going to be like, oh, yeah, cool, whatever. But, you know, is that going to change your mind? Like, have you ever driven past somebody's house and be like, fuck, there's a sign of this guy in there? Well, fuck, I'm going to vote for him now.
Third
like,
one,
right.
yeah, it must be.
Like, that doesn't change anybody's fucking opinion.
Yeah.
It's going to make people that don't like them now dislike you by default. That's all it's doing. It's like all it's doing is sowing fucking, you know, anger and fucking, you know, neighborhood fucking problems. I mean, there's people in my neighborhood I've seen arguing out in the fucking street.
Isn't that crazy?
Over shit.
That's
it's like,
nuts.
dude, who gives a fuck?
Not, those people are not that important.
Yeah, it's like, and that goes back to the idolization of and the, you know, rock star fucking mentality.
They're arguing about people that don't even know they exist.
Yeah, and frankly, don't
don't
give
care.
a fuck.
They don't give a fuck.
Even if they don't care about you. Yeah.
Gentlemen, we could sit here for fucking 2 days and keep waxing poetic, but I appreciate the hell out of both of you guys taking the time. I know a lot of people have asked for this type of sit down, and I wanted to be able to bring some sort of you know, opinion and kind of perspective from as many people as possible as the election day comes up. But Clint's already received the gift. Clark, we started doing this way after you came on, so now that you're back on again, I want
nice.
to give you some parting gifts here.
Thank you. Oh, that's awesome, dude. Thank you.
Well, you don't
Thank
even know
for
what it
having
is.
me.
It could be a
No, I'm
pile of dog
excited.
shit in there.
I'll be
with
stoked.
corn sticking out of it.
I'll be stoked, dude. That's
That's
nice.
pretty self-explanatory. A little mic drop challenge going. Big
Very
thanks
cool.
to John Johnston and Champion Choice Silver for the coin design.
Damn,
and
dude.
Now, at some point, you got to fucking rock that thing and send me a picture. So.
Cowboy.
I rock that for the old safety
think you
conference
should.
tomorrow, you know?
I think you owe it to yourself.
That's it. That is awesome. Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. That's
Well, if
very
that's
cool.
the case, we'll get safety is no accident inscribed on the back for you.
That's right. Oh, shit.
Or some. Is there a cheesier safety saying for you? You got to have something.
I just, fuck safety. You know?
Safety matters.
The safety guy
You can't
says,
be
"Fuck
safe,
safety."
be awesome, you know? That's it.
Right.
That's fucking great. To everybody listening, I hope you enjoyed this more casual setup. As comfortable as this chair is, it's a lot more comfortable me sitting here than elbows on the desk breaking my fucking neck. I may just change every episode to this, frankly. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. Patreon, I really appreciate your guys' hard-hitting questions. Your involvement in the show, it means a lot to me, and the community that we've built on there is special, and I'm proud of you guys, and I appreciate you. To you guys, thank you for coming. Anything you want to plug or say or tell me to go fuck myself or anybody else?
No, thanks for having. It's always fun, buddy. Hanging out. I love it.
Thank you, man.
Likewise. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you didn't, you can choke yourself. And until next time, this is Mic Drop.